Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers2know now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next few hours, along with Mike.
Good Sunday morning.
And Steve is here.
Hi there, everybody.
Hello. We're waiting for Nick to...
Wake up.
Well, I think he just woke up because I see him connected now. Bruce, I guess, is not going to be here today.
He is here in spirit.
He's always here in spirit. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers2know Voice on Skype. And this morning's show is being brought to you by thatbitblasttheguy.com, Tom Sinclair, and by Adamus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals.
And it's May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, may the 4th be with you. Oh, I forgot to add Steve here. Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to forget today and I'd get my chance to go, May the 4th be with you. Never mind, I did it good.
It worked.
And tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo.
Okay.
That's right, it is.
It's a bank holiday Monday for us tomorrow.
Why?
Well, it's something to do with May and Easter and some other rubbish, I don't know.
Easter.
Some other rubbish.
You know, Easter's sort of May-ish, isn't it, when everyone stuffs their face on chocolate eggs and that kind of thing.
I thought Easter was a month ago.
Was it? I don't know. They're still selling eggs, aren't they, in the supermarkets?
Half price.
Half-priced eggs, okay. Oh, darn it, I missed another bargain then.
Anyway, I don't know, this morning was kind of paved with problems. But now it seems like everything is okay.
Except I can't hear you when you're talking.
You're kidding me.
No, whenever you move over here, I can't hear you, Amnon. Like coming in.
I don't
you
move.
need to be in front
I don't
of the
move
microphone.
I don't move. I mean, look, there's that much between me and the microphone anyway. No matter which way I'm moving.
Yeah, you move away from the microphone and turn your head and do things. And when I say something, you come back and your volume is fine.
Okay, so what I want, Mike, is I want another microphone over here and another one over here. So
we're
when
not
I
going to do
turn,
that. We're going to get a piece of string and tie it to your mouth and tie it to the microphone. And if you move, it's going to pull the microphone with you.
Yeah, we'll tie it around your tooth. And if you're really naughty, we'll have to tie it around your loosest tooth.
You could tie it to my tongue, and then I'll move it. It's going to go with me, right? Yeah.
Like Bruce says, there's something in the way he moves.
What we could do is put a ring through your nose. And then just attach it with on a rubber band, and every time if you move away, every time you go back, it smacks you in the nose.
We'll get this BH892 Audio Technico head-worn microphone, and then you can do whatever you choose.
No, but that doesn't sound good, does it?
No.
Yeah, so no, we don't.
But neither does you talking on the other side of the
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Okay, all right.
And yes,
fine.
Tim, we did talk about it last week, but some things you have to be persistent about.
This is one of the most important things. I mean, I thought I'm pretty good with the mic.
You used to be.
I guess I'm getting slack, huh?
You are.
Okay.
Must be an age thing.
But who was not slack this week?
I don't know who.
Microsoft.
Uh-oh. What'd they do? With what?
They bit the bullet and released the patch for Internet Explorer for XP.
Yep.
Which I think was very good of them, actually. They didn't have to.
Well, that's the matter of debate, I guess, because even though they may have no obligation to support XP or IE that old, they still have, I mean, think about it. There are still more XP computers in use right now, just XP, than there are Apple products around the world. So to say that the XP installed base is irrelevant, I guess that would be an arguable point. But there are more XP computers now than there are Apple computers in use.
There are more XP computers than there are Windows 8. And I think that's what's driving them, because they know. I mean, if they don't patch XP and some big organization is going to get hit, whether or not, hey, we told you it was old or whatever, it's going to damage Microsoft's reputation. So that is a smart move on their side to say, well, this is a big thing. We really need to take care of that.
And someone made the comment that I agree that chances are the fix for it was the same across all platforms. It probably took them no effort or resources to make it available to the XP community.
Absolutely. No, it was smart on their part.
I got to tell you, I have just this last week was talking with a guy about replacing his XP computer, and he said, "What should I get?" And the Mac Mini was one of the ones I told him to consider. You know, things are getting bad when I recommend Macs.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I've been watching it on eBay and on Amazon. The price of Windows 7 is climbing. I guess a lot of people are upgrading and they're looking to buy Windows 7 because they don't want to go to Windows 8, and the prices are going up.
But let me ask something I'm not clear on. Windows 8.1 is already out. What is the one that's going to supposedly bring back the start button? Is that Windows 8.1 release 2?
I think they call it Windows 8.1 update. There's Windows 8.1 and there's Windows 8.1 update. But it's still carries a negative feeling among a lot of people.
I don't care. If they fix it, it's fixed.
Well,
I've gone right off it personally.
What'd you say, Steve?
I've gone right off of Windows 8 personally.
What does that mean, gone right off of it?
That means that I'm no longer a fan of it, or would give it space.
Why?
Well, you need to create a Microsoft account for one, which you've got no option, you have to. And even if you want to install a free app from the App Store, you've got to go through this ridiculous rigmarole of putting in your email address, at least a phone number or a secondary email address, and you have to sign into your Microsoft account before you can even start to view the store, where there are free apps that you can install for free that they want your details for. It's disgusting.
I never got to that
forget
point.
it. I mean, I wasn't going to bother with apps, but somebody mentioned to me, there's some fantastic free apps that are available, won't cost anything, and there's also quite a few there for 99 pence. Now, I wouldn't mind them asking that information if I was paying. I could understand that. But for a free application, it took me at least 5 minutes to get this email through. I then had to click a verification. They then sent me another email with a code in it that I then had to enter in. Then I had to go back in and say, right, now that I've verified that, I've got to give you my phone number and an alternative email address for a free application. Are you kidding me? No,
but doesn't the App Store work that way the same with Apple? Don't you have to give them your DNA and all that to get something from there as well?
Probably. That's why I don't use Apple.
Yeah.
But not for free. I mean, I'd understand it for a paid app, and I would put up with that, but not for free.
I tell you what I don't like about Windows 8, and I don't use it, but I see computers that come here to be repaired that have Windows 8, and I have to work on them. And it may be me that I don't know how to do it, but you cannot close a program. It's almost like by default, you're opening another window. I have to hit Alt F4 in order to actually close the program. And one of the biggest complaints I hear from customers when they call in, they said, I don't know. I started this program, and I closed it, and it will not start again. And
you can close them, Amnon.
The what?
You can close them if you drag them from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen with the mouse. You click and then hold and drag. It will close them that way.
Well, you see, but the thing is, people are used to hit an X to close it, or file and exit. And the reason why people are starting it one time and it will not start again, it's not because it doesn't work. It's because it's already open.
Yeah.
And you don't know how to get to it.
You think that being a computer, it would be intelligent enough to think, oh, they want to open this program. It's already open. Let's switch to it.
Yeah, let's switch to it. Absolutely.
They really have messed up big time. I gave them a fair old shot, and this was absolutely the final straw. No way can they expect somebody to offer something for free and expect somebody to give them their life story in order for them to be able to install it, let alone use it. No way. I'm glad I did an Acronis True image of the drive the day before, because I just put it back to that again. I mean, I went through the process to see what was involved, getting more and more furious by the second. And then when it finally did that, and I eventually did manage to get into it, I thought, well, it's a free program. I was only going to have a look at it and see what it's like anyway, and then probably uninstall it. And when I rebooted, it said I had to sign into my account. I said, well, I don't normally do that anyway, but now you've forced me to do it. I just want to punch the wall. Right. That's it. It's going to get restored to what it was like yesterday, and just forget it. Oh, I so nearly swore then. Anyway, I do apologize for having a rant like that, but just beware if you have Windows 8. You'll probably feel exactly the same way after several months.
Well, the only experience I have is on Rick's computer. Whenever we do Rick's show on Saturday morning, I log into Rick's Windows 8 computer and manage it from here. I run the timers and everything from here.
And
he uses Skype and Blink to talk with me, to send his audio up here. And because I have sort of customized the interface for what I need, which means I run it in the desktop mode with the icons, whatever that's called, not with the tiles. Metro is one or something. I forget what they call that, but I run that. It really is not a problem now that I've gotten everything on the desktop that I need. And since I installed the Skype desktop version instead of the built-in version did not have all of the same options that the desktop version has. And now I forget what the differences are. But the built-in version was not usable. I can't remember what it was. The inability
Bruce went through it, remember?
Yeah, but Bruce, whenever, as I recall, Bruce, we weren't. He was an early adopter on that one. But as I recall, Bruce had a problem with the desktop version trashing his system, and he pulled out a lot of hair trying to get things back in shape, as I recall.
He had to uninstall the built-in one before the desktop version will work right. I think today you can just install the desktop version and it will coexist with the other one.
Well, the second part I know is true. The first part, I don't know how you would uninstall the built-in one. I don't think it's an option.
We found a way back then, I remember.
Okay.
Am I right, Bruce? Do I remember correctly?
But they do coexist now because they are both on there. We just don't start the built-in one. I mean, look, I wouldn't have had any problem with the built-in one if it had all the same functionality. I wouldn't care. I don't care how it runs down at the metal. That's fine. But when I'm looking in there trying to find tools, options, audio settings so that I can set certain things and they're not available.
Right. Right. But, it's... There's a lot more problems and a lot more reasons why people are not using it, and I mean, I think I just read that they are just got to 5 or 6% of all computers out there.
Windows 8.
Windows 8, yeah.
See, that seems low because
that's according to them. That's according to them.
Now, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying it seems low because if you go out to buy a new computer, particularly for people who don't even know what the current operating system is, they go buy a computer, it comes with Windows 8.
A lot of people are are asking, and their family members, the people that take care of the computer said, don't use Windows 8. So they go and they look for Windows 7 machines. And they're still out there. Acer is out there with Windows 7. Dell is out there with Windows 7. You can find brand new computers with Windows 7. And thank God, I guess the situation is not that. I remember when Vista came about, there was a situation where if you wanted to go back to XP on a new computer that came with Vista on it, you couldn't because there were some missing drivers that were not written for Windows XP, like the wireless. I remember Nabil had a Acer computer that he got that had Windows Vista. It came with Vista on it, and he just couldn't use the wireless.
That was true also for the cameras that were built into laptops for Vista.
Yep. So there were situations like this, and people just couldn't revert or go back and install XP like they wanted to. With Windows 8, apparently, with those computers, a lot of people are installing Windows 7, and I didn't hear about any problems. So a lot of these computers that you hear that people are buying, they probably end up with Windows 7 on it, and everything is okay.
But as I understand it, Steve, maybe see if you agree with this, but the XP driver database was very different from the Vista driver database, at least in 64-bit. I mean, when they did 64-bit drivers, it was a brand new database of drivers, meaning that a computer, in my experience, you guys may have had a different experience, but in my experience, a computer that has a sticker on it that says designed for Vista or works with Vista will work with Windows 7. It does not necessarily work with XP.
Correct.
Because I think there is a big divide in this database of drivers.
Correct.
Yeah, they implemented a new method of driver installation, I believe, on Vista, which wasn't compatible with the old way of doing things on XP. That's a lot of the problem. Plus the fact that an awful lot of people didn't write drivers for old devices for Vista. So you were kind of stuck if you wanted to carry on using them in XP.
When you go to download drivers from manufacturer's site like HP and Dell or whatever, when you download it, you can look at the name and see that there are two different ones for 32-bit and for 64-bit, but they're both they don't cover XP. They cover Vista and Windows 7, but XP is separate. And I guess that means that they're both good for both operating system, for Vista and Windows 7. So you're right, Mike. The library is for that.
I think with Vista, didn't they have signed drivers, which I don't think they had on XP? I think it was signed drivers. He always said, "Did you want to install this driver? It's not signed," and then you would have to click a window to say, "Yes, I take responsibility."
They were some. I remember. I mean, not manufacturers' drivers, but third-party drivers. Because I remember the one for the camera system was not signed, so you had to hit continue anyway. So there were some. Yeah.
That was a good idea, but I'm not so sure that I don't think that program had the usefulness that it may otherwise have had.
What program?
The signed driver thing. I installed as many unsigned as I did signed, and if I have to install a driver and the only one available is unsigned, I'm installing it.
Sure.
I'm not going to sit there worrying about their political program.
Well, it's like having a touch-enabled devices and an operating system that's written for it. Absolutely brilliant idea, but wait till the darn devices are out there first.
Jeff Bundy makes a comment. He says so that if Windows 7 from 2009 keeps the same life cycle as XP, then that would give it 13 years, meaning that Windows 7 will be around until 2022.
And it may well be like
It may well be. Now, having said that, I'm committed to XP for a number of reasons, not any of them because it's such a great operating system, and I'm not opposed to getting away from it. I'm just saying I'm heavily invested in it on one computer. The rest of the computers are totally irrelevant, except that some of my older computers I don't think would support Windows 7. I don't think the drivers are written for those older computers, and while granted they are older, slower computers, they have dedicated purposes for which I'm not interested in spending a bunch of money to update to a newer operating system that provides zero additional benefit. But all that being said, on my main computers, the one like I'm talking on now is Windows 7. My broadcast computer also is Windows 7. I've got Windows 7 on my work laptop. I mean, I've got my wife's computer is Windows 7. We got plenty of Windows 7 around here, and a couple over here that Windows 7 that are not even powered up. So while I have that operating system, I'm not categorically opposed to updating them to Windows 8.1 update if, in fact, the system works pretty much the same way. And that the issue Steve brings up, if I've got to stand on my head every time I want to update or do something, I may just leave well enough alone. But I do believe that Microsoft is going to put its focus naturally into Windows 8.1. That's where any innovation will be. It will not be in Windows 7. And if we can get into Windows 8.1, and if Windows 8.1 has the life cycle that XP had, then that should be my last operating system, right?
Well, no, because it will be Windows 9 or whatever version it's going to be as the secondary next jump ahead. Because as it always is with Windows, it's always the every other one that is a good one.
And that's the great point. I mean, I'm Windows 7 now. Why not just wait till Windows 9? I always ask the question, and no one will ever answer this question in a persuasive way. The question is, what is the incentive for me to update from Windows 7 to Windows 8?
Well, they'll try and tell you things like it's faster, it's a bit more secure, and you've got UEFI BIOS, which is, to be honest, is just a complete and utter pain in the rear. The idea is brilliant. The idea of a touch operating system, brilliant. It's just implemented in a ridiculously stupid and old-fashioned and you'll have it my way or no way, which is pathetic. God, it really riles me up, something rotten, that they forced this on us, and just without even so much as a questionnaire or something coming out, or at least trial, a more widespread trial, so people like everyday people like you and I could have given it a go and tried it. It's just insane.
Yeah, I don't see any benefit.
I mean, I really can't. I mean, the touch screen part of it, that's not a benefit. I don't need that.
And you don't get that with most computers.
Let me qualify that. There actually is an application that I would really like to have as a touchscreen application. I use the program Jingle Palette to play audio clips on the radio show. Like in the old days, we used to use cart machines. Now this Jingle Palette program. That would be a fabulous program to have on a laptop, and all I had to do is reach over and touch the button, the screen button, to play a music clip. That would be neat. I would enjoy having that.
But do you have a touch monitor?
No, it would be all new purchase.
Yeah.
Well, it's coming. I mean, it's definitely going to get here. But like I said, right from the outset, when Amnon had that guy from Microsoft to talk about the new release of Windows 8 as it was, they jumped the gun before. Now you've actually got manufacturers coming out with touchscreen devices as laptops, and you've got manufacturers coming out with touchscreen monitors. But I mean, who wants to reach out and touch their monitor when their hand's already resting on the keyboard or on the mouse? It's just ridiculous. No one would want to do that unless you're in an environment where you're trying to show somebody something who's sat next to you, perhaps, then it might be better because you can physically point to the item. Why am I pointing at my screen, by the way? You can physically point at the item, touch it, and then, for presentation and for tutorial purposes, brilliant.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't see people use it in offices and in being productive at work unless you have a specialized application, like Mike said, for his jingle palette. But most people with today's monitor that are big monitors, you normally sit farther for the monitor than you used to. So what? You have to actually reach over, this is not for handhelds, tablets and stuff. Yeah. But for, I have a customer that had an HP computer with touch screen now for a few years. He didn't even know it was a touch screen. He thought there was a problem. Every now and then he would touch the screen kind of to move it or whatever. It's one of those all together. And something will happen and he will call and said, I don't know what I did, but something. And it was a touch screen. So he had to go and disable it and everything was fine. So it's I guess Microsoft thought that everybody is going to get the Surface.
Yeah, they all thought Surface Pro.
Yeah,
and
that didn't work.
Pro.
As a matter of fact, there was an article here that said that Microsoft is losing a bunch of money.
They've got so many in the warehouse waiting to be shipped that they're going to have to do an HP on them, I think. They're going to have to sell them off at less than cost price.
Yeah, it says, revealed from a 10Q filed by Microsoft with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, Microsoft has been losing $300 million and counting for the Surface in the last 9 months. Data from Strategy Analytics has also revealed that Microsoft Windows Power tablets now own a 6% global tablet share in first quarter of 2014. Android, on the other hand, remains at the top at 66% global share. Apple iOS fell to 28. But Microsoft, with that 6%, is actually losing, has lost in 9 months, $300 million. So it's, it's selling it for, like Steve is saying, selling it for less than what it cost them. You can't run that's not a... That's not a business. But what do? If people don't want to buy it, you try to push it and find all kind of creative ways to give it away. Right?
Well, $300 million is nothing to them. It's an insult to their ego, and they'll certainly stop the bleeding, but that's hardly worth convening a meeting of the accounting department to worry about that amount of money.
Convening a meeting. There was another interesting story here. Federal jury rules Samsung infringed on Apple patents, but awards just $119.6 million in damages.
Oh, well.
That's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, at least the lawyers get paid.
After 3 days of deliberation, a federal jury has found that Samsung infringed on some of Apple's patents brought against it. Apple was seeking $2.2 billion in damages from the suit. It was awarded $119 million. The jury determined that all accused Samsung phones had infringed on U.S. patent, blah, 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 quick links, and they're going to different numbers. And it says, meanwhile, the jury also determined that Apple infringed Samsung's U.S. patent, whatever, camera and folder organization, and awarded the Korean company $158,000. It had asked for damages about $6.2 million. Apple was found to not have infringed on the second patent, video transmission functionality. So it's still going on. I mean, we may not hear about it a lot in the news, but it's still going on. And I think this will bring a good discussion here. Let's talk about this. An American judge has just added another reason why foreign, not American, companies should avoid using American internet service companies. The judge ruled that search warrants for customer email and other content must be turned over even when that data is stored on servers in other countries. The ruling comes out of a case in which U.S. law enforcement was demanding data from Microsoft servers in Dublin. Microsoft fought back, saying a U.S. prosecutor cannot obtain a U.S. warrant to search someone's home located in another country, just as another country prosecutor cannot obtain a court order in her home country to conduct a search in the United States. We think the same rule should apply to the online world, but the government disagrees. If this ruling stands, foreign governments will not be happy about having their legal jurisdiction trespassed by American courts that force American companies to turn over customers' data stored in their countries. The question is, who does have legal jurisdiction on data stored in a given country? The courts of that country or the courts of the nationality of the company who manages the data storage? This is a matter that has to be decided by international treaties. While we're at it, let's try to establish an international cyber law enforcement system in the meantime. I mean, Microsoft has servers in Europe. They have them all over the world. Not for backup, not for Americans to go and put it there so it's somewhere. It is to have business in other countries. So when you're operating them, you're paying taxes over there, whatever. Seems to me it should be under the jurisdiction of that country. I mean, when you have, and I don't know how that works, but what happens when you have a Swiss bank account? Why do people have a quote-unquote Swiss bank account? Isn't that because the IRS cannot put their fingers in it?
Right. I mean, the IRS can go to your local bank in the United States and say, I want to see all of Amnon's records. Right. And there's debatable about how much paperwork they have to have, but the fact of the matter is if the IRS wants to know what's in your bank account, they're going to find it. The idea is that in Belize or the Cayman Islands or Swiss bank accounts, the idea is the IRS says, we want to see what's in Amnon's account, and they say, take a hike.
Right. That's the thing, you know. You go and you I mean, somebody comes to a prosecutor is coming to a server in Dublin and said, I want that information. That's exactly what they should tell him.
Take a hike.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But what you're saying is logical, but in reality, the way the systems are so entangled would be probably a reasonable word. If the government, one of these governments like Ireland, says to, and I'm making this up, I'm not saying this is the case, yeah. But if Ireland were to say to the United States, well, no, we're not going to, sorry for the throat, we're not going to entertain your request, why don't you go take a hike, then the United States says, well, you know what, we actually were thinking about putting some new import restrictions on products shipped from Ireland to the United States. You guys are over there in a hotbed in Northern Ireland and Belfast, and maybe we're concerned about some things happening over here, so maybe we'll need to do that. So now the government sees their potential output dropping dramatically to the United States, and all of a sudden these little bean counters get into a room, and the politicians and the lobbyists get in the same room, and green starts flashing, and all of a sudden the cooperation improves.
I don't know. I would hate to think that just because, I mean, it's going to hurt business in general. Now, the point here is that companies who are using Microsoft's services in Dublin or anywhere in Europe are going to say, no. We're going to switch. We're going to go to a German company because your company is not safe for us.
And Gene is saying in chat, he said you can't hide money in foreign accounts any longer if you're an American. Well, yeah, I get that, so long as you're following United States law. The original approach is, of course, and what so many people still do, is if that money is earned out of the country and it remains out of the country, it is not within the jurisdiction of the United States government. The United States government tries to impose its authority over you as a citizen, and it says to you as a citizen that if you have money in foreign accounts, you have to tell us about it. Well, I mean, I'm not going to get into all that, but let's just say that if that money is outside of the country, they have no jurisdiction over the money. They only have jurisdiction over you. And how you want to handle that is up to you, but I will tell you that there's an awful lot of money outside this country that the United States cannot touch. And the case in point, and you may have heard in the news recently about Pfizer. Pfizer, the drug company, has a lot of money outside the United States because if they bring it into the United States, it is subject to United States corporate tax rates, which are the highest in the industrialized nation. In that regard, Pfizer has proposed to merge with a company in the UK of all places. And by merging to the UK, and shifting its primary corporate presence to the United Kingdom, they are able to avoid some confiscatory taxes within the United States that will then allow them to bring these funds they have overseas into the company without having them go through the United States tax base. Now, what does that say about this country when we have people, businesses, job providers, innovators, leaving this country, all due respect, Steve, going to the UK of all places? I mean, over there, look at the tax rates over there and the VAT and so forth, and yet we've got companies finding the UK more favorable environment than the United States.
Well, Google got into serious trouble with the government over here for paying far too little tax because they had their head office. I don't know. There was one company, I can't remember if it was Google or another company, that had their head office in Dublin or in Northern Ireland somewhere. So they only had to pay a very low rate of tax, and they purposely put their head office there because of it. You know,
and that's perfectly legal. Perfectly legal.
It's perfectly legal to do so. It's another one, I think, put it in not Netherlands, but one of the European countries. Again, put their head office there in order that they're paying such little tax or no tax. It's incredible.
Well, now this is getting a little too political, but I'll go ahead and make the comment and throw it out. I don't think any corporation should be paying income taxes. I just don't, because any money that goes into a corporation is going to ultimately be paid out to the stockholders, and they're taxed on their income. So there's no such thing as a corporation not paying taxes. It's not being paid at the corporate tax level. But, I mean, it's just silly that if you go buy stock in a corporation, the corporation makes money, the corporation pays tax on that profit. Then when it's all done, you get a dividend out of your stock holding, and when you get that dividend, you pay tax on it. It's double taxed.
Yeah, it always is double taxed.
Well, it's like your wage, isn't it? You get taxed on your wages, and you put it in the bank to save it, and you get taxed on your savings, so you can't win. Tax on a tax on a tax on a tax on a tax.
Yep, that's
and
a fact.
I hadn't realized that already. You also get taxed on that.
That is a fact. In fact, when you get your income and you pay income tax on it, and then when you go out to spend money, you pay sales tax.
And then VAT and some other form of taxes.
Yeah,
everything. It's just madness, isn't it? And we let them get away with it instead of voting. Well, we can't vote them out because no matter who you vote in, they've still got the same agenda anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah, not a lot of choice.
A democracy, And to the extent of they allow you to vote and believe that you're making a change and you can make a difference, when in reality, no, not really. All you've done is gone and put an X on a piece of paper. It doesn't mean anything. Because at the end of the day, they're going to carry on and do what the hell they like anyway.
Gene says that the Cayman Islands banks have been taking a hit with the new law. Every time he takes a new bag of money down there, he's finding fewer banks. Well, look, there's a simple solution. We're talking about this stuff, but there's a simple solution to the whole problem. Just don't have any money.
Well, they're doing their best to try and sort that out for everybody.
Yeah. Then the problem goes away.
Nick, we don't have your video. There.
You have it now?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank God.
Oh, yes.
Good morning, Nick.
Hello. What's going
Slept late, huh?
on? Yeah. Had to do some stuff this morning.
It's fine.
Unacceptable.
You've been up all night drinking.
What?
It sounds like you've been up all night on the booze.
Oh, yeah. Oh, all night. Can't breathe. It's allergy season, so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So that's always fun.
Okay, let's see. Where is the... There was another interesting... Okay, here. Net neutrality took a hit when the FCC gave its blessing to Internet fast lanes last week. And one commentator believes that the solution is simple: public ownership of the hardware. Owning the means of distribution is a traditional function of local government. We call our roads and bridges and water and sewer pipe networks public infrastructure for a reason. In the 19th century, local and state governments concluded that the transportation of people and goods was so essential to a modern economy that the key distribution system must be publicly owned. In the 21st century, the transportation of information is equally essential. So, is the Internet essential infrastructure? Should local governments step in to preserve equality of access? Comments?
Yes.
Yes and
Well,
All right, Nick was the first one to say yes.
yeah, go for it, Nick.
It's essential. I don't think that there's... I would say for 99% of the population, internet is essential to what somebody is doing every single day. Is that safe to assume?
Yeah.
For a lot of businesses, yes. I'm not going to necessarily say for individuals.
So for me being a student, do you think it's necessary for me to have internet access at home?
Yes.
Well, hang on now. Let's circulate this around the table. I'm not of the persuasion that life ends if you don't have internet at home. I might make some argument that not having the internet at home could actually be beneficial to the educational process. Is that a reality in this society? No, it's not. But I think that the internet is good and it's bad. It remains to be seen. You guys know that I've gotten where I turn mine off from time to time. I found myself spending way too much time online.
Mike, did you know that in order to register for Wake Tech from semester to semester, you have to do it online?
You have to use Firefox too.
I don't know, but you have to do it online. You cannot go to the office there and say, I want to register. At this point, that's essential.
Well, you could go to a library, though.
Yes, you can.
You
of
could
course
do it with
you can.
dial-up.
Of course you can.
But dial-up is internet.
I understand, but I think is the issue here not really whether we're going to have internet, but whether we need high-speed internet. I mean,
Well, no, it's whether or not the structure around us, the internet structure, the network, should go under public ownership. I mean, I don't see it happening, but it's an argument here. And there's a lot of things. I mean, here, Nick wants to do his next step in being a Skywarn spotter. The course is online.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things.
I have to work on a research paper today.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of tests that are being done online. A lot of people cannot go to a school, let's say, in the evening, and they do it online in order to
Hogwash.
better themselves.
Hogwash. How did we make it in society before the internet?
How did we make it in society before trucks? How did we make it in society before trains?
I agree.
Did. I mean, things change. It's just that when these companies, I think, are and institutions are adopting the new way of doing business, then the rest of the world, the rest of us, have to adopt and say, okay, now this becomes. I mean, look, 15 years ago, the internet was, okay, it's fun. The early days of computers, it was fun. We played games and all that. Personal computers. Today, it is essential. I don't know.
My daughter is in law school. She's 25. And as part of her legal writing course, one of the first things she had to do was to go into the library and use books to get answers to the questions.
That's
she was
fine.
not permitted to use the internet.
That's okay.
Now, Mike, you could say the same thing about the research paper that I'm doing, except the research paper software is online. Where I compile all my information is an online medium. So you can say, because that's what the teacher assigned.
Right. But look, I don't want this discussion to get off the rails, because I'm not suggesting that the internet is not an extraordinarily fabulous resource.
Oh,
that
I don't think anybody thinks that. Yeah.
I mean, there's no question it is, in my mind, it's the greatest invention since the personal computer. There are just so many things that we can do that we would not otherwise be able to do. But to say that life does not go on without the internet, I think is silly. And I say this from a personal perspective, not a business perspective. I say it from a personal perspective because I have actually turned off the computer and picked up a book, like with paper and everything in it, and reading it. And it's different, and it's a part of my life that I enjoy. I mean, I still read magazines. When I subscribe to a magazine and it says, do you want print or do you want paper? I mean, print or do you want digital? It's print. Now, I have some digital magazines, and I use them on my Kindle, but the reality is that I, at this point, am not willing to give up paper or give up books. And actually, there's some research out there that shows that that your comprehension of words written on paper is better than the comprehension of words written on a screen. Now, is that credible research? I don't know. Is it not? Is it written by global warming morons? I don't know. But
I would say in certain cases, I find myself getting much more distracted when I'm reading stuff online.
I would agree. And one of the, in fact, that's why you have to be careful reading research. And I'm very skeptical of all research, not because it's wrong, but because people are people and they have different perspectives. For example, these tests were done apparently on monitors that had pretty bright backlights. And one of the comments they made was the backlight shining into your eyes was distracting to being able to focus on the words. Well, that's not hard research to prove or disprove, and you get a variety of monitors and so forth. So I don't know what the answer is, but I know that If you sit in front of a computer all day long and don't know how to read a book, you're missing something in life. Now, that's not made the same type of comment like I got when I was in college, where I had a professor who said, if you use one of these new digital calculators, you're not going to learn how to work a slide rule. And actually gave us an exam where we had to do the mathematics on a slide rule. That was stupid. I don't think that the comparison that I'm making between computers and books, I don't think it's in that same classification. Because it's a different medium. You can hold it in your hand. It's convenient. You don't have to have a battery. If the revolution happens and we don't have power, at least we'll be able to read books. And we'll get rid of GMOs and everything.
Well, it seems that, I mean, the article was talking about allowing some people to go faster lanes and some companies don't. This is like telling FedEx, you can only drive 30 miles an hour, and UPS, you can go 70. That's favoring somebody, and that's what they're talking about is whether or not it should be publicly owned, and there is no such thing as you can go this and you can go that. I mean, if you can drive the speed limit, you can go the speed limit.
Nobody should have the right to throttle or to limit in any way,
Good.
shape, or form
there you go.
somebody's
to
connection.
Throttle. That's a good word, Steve. That's right.
The European Court of Justice, or whatever it's called, has already ruled that it's a basic human right to have access to the internet.
Yep.
So in Europe, it's a common right. You can't take someone's internet away.
Now, let's quickly get back to the question before we, because throttling is the next thing. But I mean, the fear that the government regulating the internet is bad. I mean, they're already regulating the internet anyway. They've got total control of all the ISPs. They're looking at all Google stuff, all Yahoo stuff. I don't think there's anything that they're not looking at that them regulating would change. So.
Let me go one step further in this discussion to be clear, because I do not believe that governments should compete with private enterprise. The reason being that the government has an unfair advantage. They have unlimited resources. They don't have an incentive to make profit. They certainly don't have experience in running a commercial enterprise like someone who has had to set up and manage a business for doing so. A case in point, do I think the town of Raleigh needs to get into the ISP business to compete with Amnon? No, I don't think that's the purpose of business. I think private enterprise can provide a solution, and usually a better solution at a lower cost. Having said that, I think that when you have a utility-type enterprise like the Internet, where there is a community need, such as take, for example, with the examples that we always use are the town of Wilson and the town of Salisbury, North Carolina. When there is a community development need, should the government get involved in providing essential resources? And whereas this approach is different from what most people in my political persuasion think, that government should not compete with private enterprise, I've come up with my hopefully non-hypocritical answer is that in the town of Salisbury, in the town of Cary, in the town of Wilson, I think that private enterprise should be given the first option. Let's say, for example, when it comes to high-speed internet, I think that it's perfectly reasonable for the town of Cary, North Carolina, to write a request for a proposal. We would like for a private company or one or more private companies to provide 1 gigabit internet service to our community. Here's what we would like to see happen. And that RFP should be open for 90 days or 6 months or some period of time. It should be publicly advertised, circulated proactively to all of the companies out there who would be in the position to offer those services. If any company says, yes, we can do it, it's going to take us 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months to get the resources to make it happen, but we are willing to commit to coming into your community with that resource. I think the municipality should have to defer to private enterprise to provide that facility. However, whenever the town of Salisbury, North Carolina says, we're dying here, we've lost all of our furniture, we've lost all of our manufacturing, we've lost all of our textile manufacturing, we have people here who want jobs, they want good paying jobs. We need a dramatically improved internet infrastructure here to be able to attract high-tech companies to come into our area. They send out an RFP to all of the major suppliers, and they all say, nope, not big enough, not interested, the payback is too long, nope, we're not going to do it. Or, yeah, we'll come in there, but it's going to be $550 per user for 100 megabit up and down. That's not viable. Then do I think the municipality should be able to bring in internet infrastructure? I do. Because what they have done is they are not, in effect, competing with private enterprise because private enterprise was given first option and they declined.
Well, look what Donovan is putting in the chat.
Well, Donovan knows this stuff firsthand. I mean, he's been on the first row of this movie.
And what he's saying is that
exactly the same thing. And Donovan is saying, for those who are not in chat, he says he was directly involved. He said, if we had not started a government broadband system in Tifton, Georgia, the area would have been several years behind when it came to broadband, and we would have missed out on new businesses that came into the area because we had it. No doubt about it. There's no question about it. Wilson, North Carolina lost a lot of their tobacco influence. They're certainly the jobs. They're a depressed area. But if a business wants 100 gigabit internet, they can go to Wilson and get it.
Yep.
And they can find a worker base there that's not going to require $50 an hour to attract people.
So yeah, it's
one of the big arguments against, and Gene is saying, Nick, as a young man, you should not yield to government that which they should not and cannot do effectively. And I mean, I agree with Gene on that comment. And Gene, we know, obviously Nick and Amnon and all of us, we know each other offline a lot better. Nick is not falling into that trap. He knows better.
Yes. Yeah. I am not. I'm not saying pro-government because I think that the government should run everything. I'm saying pro-government because Time Warner and Comcast, they're not doing their job. They're not providing high-speed internet to their customers. And the government's already got total control of the internet. So if they regulate it, there's probably a better chance that it'll be high-speed. And if that's the case, then I'm fine with that. If it's not, if they're going to do exactly what Time Warner's doing, then screw them. I'll stick with what I have.
One of the things that annoys me is that the government keeps poking its nose and keeps saying, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. And then it basically says to the internet service providers, well, rather than us come in and regulate you, this is what we'd like you to do. So can you talk about it amongst yourselves and see what you can do to actually implement some of the ideas and some of the things we're telling you about? So they're forcing them to try and do something, and they don't really know where to turn because for so many years they've had all the money that's been coming into them. They've just been pocketing and paying out bonuses and just goodness knows what else, but not in putting any money into the infrastructure for the future. Now all of a sudden they're expecting them to have, fiber optic and much better systems and everything else. And well, they didn't because they were spending all the money and pocketing it all. Now all of a sudden they want it. Where's it going to come from? They've been pocketing the money for far too long.
Well, again, people tend to respond to things in emotional manners, and that's human nature. But the reality is that we have to go back to fundamental core beliefs, and that is, should governments be involved in community economic development issues? And the answer, some say no, some say yes. I think in certain cases they have to. And that is, what if we wanted a private company to install and maintain water? We already have private companies that do trash, private companies that provide the roads. At some point, is there a sense of economy at which the government provides a better resource than a private company? Well, that train has already left the station for most areas. I don't know many companies that would want to come in and operate the water system. I don't think I do. Would operate the water system, and it's like Gene's mentioning, you've got the government now involved in healthcare, and that's going to be the biggest disaster that has ever hit this country. And it's only 2% implemented at this point, and people are already suffering big time, and one person even died that we're aware of as a result of not being able to get treatment because of medicine that was not on the Obamacare corollary, but that's another story. But all that being said, if you believe that government should be involved in economic development, and I would offer in municipal governments, that's probably should be one of their main objectives, although I'm not really hardcore on that. But if they should be involved in community development, that means that if there is a piece of land in the community that you would like to attract Apple to build a nice facility there to hire people and to provide high-paying jobs with benefits, then they're going to have water, sewer, power, and internet. Those are 4 essential requirements that a high-tech company is going to have. As far as 3 of those concerned, I mean, you have, for example, power, in that here we have Duke Power, unfortunately. And what happens is that if this company comes in and it's in an area that is not currently served, my understanding is, actually, what happened to my video? Oh,
yeah, what happened?
This, is it off?
No, it came back.
Okay. My understanding is, and maybe Gene or someone who knows better than I can correct me if I'm wrong, but if we have a piece of land, formerly it was farmland, and out in the middle of this field, there's no power out there, and a new company is going to come in and build a manufacturing facility or an office facility or design or research facility there, they have to have a 480-volt service to be able to provide so many megawatts, whatever. My understanding is that while there may be a major and would be a major cost associated with it, under state law, the serving power company, in this case being Duke, has to provide that service to that company. Now, again, there may be a build cost, and that cost may be expensive, but they have to provide that service to that company. And once they provide the service to the company, the power rates charged have to be the regulated rates. And so we're already having that now, where a private company is providing, under regulation, is providing that service to this new company. If that company needs internet, what are they supposed to do? The entity, even natural gas has a build-out cost associated with it, but that's a private company. But with the internet, I don't think any municipality can say to Time Warner, okay, they need 1 gigabit internet at this facility, you need to go provide it. And Time Warner says, we don't have the facility, sorry. So I do think that there is not parity with, I know there's not, parity with the internet and other utility-type functions such as water, sewer, power, natural gas. And Donovan says, same thing happens with telephone. If the nearest connection is 5 miles away, the telephone company has to provide service to that location. Now, again, I'm not sure about the build-out cost. There may be ways of them offloading that cost, and I, as a consumer of those resources, would like to have everyone pay their way. So if they have to run 5 miles, then maybe there should be a build-out cost so that I don't have to pay to run telephone to that particular facility. But the government involvement in all of these issues was sold on the basis of universal access, meaning that your grandmother may live on a farm that's 4 miles away from the next nearest telephone line, But the reality is that we're going to take these build-out costs, and whereas you live next to your next-door neighbor and all we have to do is run one wire that takes about 15 minutes, or whether we have to run a line 4 miles to your grandmother, the fact of the matter is that we're going to have universal access to telephones. And I would say that that was probably the right decision for economic development, for personal satisfaction of the citizenry. I think maybe that's probably a good approach.
Well, to tell you a little story. I mean, Marshall has a company in Wilson, and he enjoys green light. He doesn't have real high speed. He doesn't need it, but he needs high speed. So he needs to move, and he started looking. And he found a beautiful building right outside of Elm City in North Carolina. He called to find out. I mean, he cannot do it without internet. He has to have internet for the ordering and for processing and all that. He got all kind of answers about all kind of different speeds. From same companies, they tell him two different things. But the bottom line is it almost fell through because he found out that the most he can get from CenturyLink is 1.5 up, 768 up, 1.5 down.
Wow.
DSL.
Even the FCC calls that slow.
Well, there is Time Warner Cable across, it's right on Highway 301. There's cable across the street. They won't bring it to his side of the street. There is green light coming all the way about a mile from him. In order to bring it another mile, they wanted $40,000. He's been going on.
I got to tell you, that would probably be worth it.
I don't know. And why did you freeze?
I don't know.
Oh, geez, don't tell me.
I guess same reason you move away from the microphone. That's just what I do.
Well, I get your audio, so that means you're not disconnected.
Group video is unavailable at the moment. Please try again later.
Oh, great.
Let's try
Way
this
to go,
again.
Microsoft. Thanks for making it free and ruining it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I wonder what else they're going to ruin this year.
We really need to start looking at something else, even if the quality is not that great, Mike.
I don't know. We've had pretty good luck with Skype.
I know. Yeah,
I'm
you're
back now, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
The deal almost fell through.
That fell through between whom and who and
Between
whom?
Marshall and that person who's trying to rent the building.
Oh, okay. So you're saying the real estate deal almost fell through?
Yeah.
Well,
And that's
if
a
I were
shame.
a landlord,
And that's a shame for an area that is looking for more employers, because he's going to employ a lot of people there. So I said, Marshall, just go to the City Hall at Elm City. I said, look, guys, I'm looking to lease this building. It's going to give you so many jobs and all that. What can you do for me as far as internet? Couldn't get anybody to even acknowledge.
they probably can't spell internet.
Yeah. Then I told him, I said, talk to these companies, Time Warner and Greenlight, and see if they can bring it to you wirelessly. Because they may, to put an investment in a piece of equipment that will just bring it 1 mile wirelessly should not be as much as running cable under Highway 301. Well, the bottom line is he's going to get a T1. That's all he can do at this point. But at least it's 1.5 up, 1.5 down, and it's good because it's actually faster than 1.54 in reality.
But Amnon,
And
are there any other businesses between him and the green light
no,
point?
no, that's the problem. And I didn't believe it. I said, okay,
No,
I want to
they're-
see. And I went and looked on Google Earth just to see what's there.
Yeah, I mean that's not unusual to have something like that, but the reality being that, I mean, I'm in a situation now where I want natural gas for my home.
Yeah,
I can see the end of the natural gas
right.
line,
Same here.
but they want $3,500 to run it down half a block to my house.
Yep,
The problem is if I do that, my neighbors can now tap in for free.
right.
The idea being that, well, why not get your neighbors to share having it run?
And
Well,
if you go
that's-
and if you go to your neighbors and go to
Well,
even
they don't have the same enthusiasm for it that I do. I mean, my next door neighbor just put in a brand new heat pump to replace the one that failed on her a few months ago. How long will it be before she's ready to replace her heating system with natural gas to make it worthwhile for her to get natural gas? To switch over, you have to go get new stoves and fireplace logs and things like that. And I mean, I could probably get the cost down if I agreed to throw away both of my heat pumps and put in new units that run on natural gas, which I would consider doing, but both of my units are in good shape right now. And so it's timing wise, it's just not a good thing. The one good part is that I had them quote me this about 10 years ago, and the price was pretty much the same. So at least it hasn't skyrocketed over time. But I would very much like to have it, but it's just not a good thing right now. It's just not working out. I personally think that as utilities go, that the gas company ought to have to run the line down our street, and if it sits there without making money for 5 years, then that's the price of being granted a monopoly.
yeah, it is.
Pastaland is Italy, Gene.
Hey, Nick,
He's eating.
I know.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Where's your coffee?
Oh, right here. Oh, look at that mug. Isn't that
Oh,
great?
I don't have one.
You could have bought one.
You have one here, Mike.
I don't want one.
Oh.
Oh, is a baby upset?
Oh.
It doesn't want a coffee mug. Wah.
Wah. All right.
But just quickly, Mike, I definitely agree with that. If they're a monopoly, they should run it, and if they don't make money, that's sucks for them because that's
CDB, cost of doing business.
yeah. I definitely agree with that. That's the problem with with FiOS is they don't want to go into new areas because they can't sell to every single house.
Right. Well, I would go one step further with the the gas company. If they said to me, all right, if you will pay to run it to your house, we will charge any neighbor a prorated portion to connect to it. If they connect within the next 5 years, I'd say do it. But I don't want my neighbors sitting there waiting for me to connect, and then they decide to put in a candle and they get a free connection to the
Right.
natural gas at my expense. I mean, I don't even know my neighbors that well. I'm not going to pay for them to hook up.
Yeah.
I
The
think
cost could be spread, then it's fine. But if your neighbours have got other commitments at the moment, then yeah, I mean you've got to work out if it's that desperate or not.
The solution to the high-speed internet problem is going to be wireless.
But having said that, I hear that and I understand that, but I'm really curious in a really well-engineered wireless system, particularly municipal Wi-Fi, what sort of ping rates are you going to be able to get?
I have no clue.
Well, I had Clear for about a year. Clear is a wireless service. They give you a modem and you plug it in and you have internet.
I
Back
believe
then,
it's Sprint. Yeah.
the what?
I said I believe it's Sprint, or it's Sprint now.
Well, I don't know. They still have their own equipment over at the Colo, so I have no idea. It used to be Clear Radio. What was it? No, Clear
Wireless.
Clearwire. No, now it's just Clear. They changed the name, yeah. But it was great, Mike. It was great for gaming. People with gaming in our area loved it. And the nice thing is, I could take that modem with me. If we go to spend an afternoon with some friends, I take it with me and I have it over there.
That's sick, Amnon.
Yeah, I know. But it was nice. I mean, we're talking years and years ago. The point is, I mean, look, RST, that's what they're saying, right? It's all wireless.
Is it?
The last mile. And that is smart. This is why they don't have to have all the right-of-ways, licenses, and all that from different companies or the city, because they go and they rent space on a cell tower, and that's all they need. Now they can service, I don't know how many thousands of people.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it would necessarily be a cell tower.
Whatever. They don't have to build their own structure as far as towers. I mean, the antenna goes on a tower, and nobody puts up towers anymore. I mean, they just go and rent space on a tower.
I think if they could keep the ping under 50 milliseconds, it'll be fine.
Oh, under 20.
On Clear...
Gen 1, if they could keep it.
Uh-oh. Now what?
Oh, we're so proud of you, Microsoft.
Skype has stopped working.
Oh, dear. Normal service might not be resumed as soon as possible.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, dear.
Okay, now
if you'd like to call in, by the way, anybody, it's 919-518-9773. Or if you've got Skype, you can connect to us on Computers2know Voice, providing it's working. Hopefully it will be in a few moments.
Now, if I close and reopen, it's going to miss the picture, but I'm going to have to.
Oh, dear.
Oh, it completely closed.
Well, that and weekends, so I suppose it's...
Let's see if we can restart it. Yep, it starts.
Holiday weekend for some, isn't it? I suppose everybody's on trying to get in contact with their families and things.
But now... Oh, boy.
Just when you thought the worst had happened, it gets worse than that. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dear, I don't know. Yeah, well, don't call in for the moment because Amnon's fiddling around trying to get everything back up and working again, so it'll just be a distraction. But you could, by all means, you can always type something into the chat, and we'll see if we can converse about that. I dare say I'll find a cricket sound in a minute or something to just bide away the time. Just a second. There we go.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable.
Oh, boy.
Oh, dear.
I wonder what happened to Mike. I mean...
Maybe they're throwing everything at him. Perhaps they're like disconnecting his power and getting rid of Skype all at the same time. Yeah, that's the point. What service would I recommend to replace Skype? I really don't know. I've not, to be honest, I've not really kept up with it. SIP is a good one. SIP is Session Initiation Protocol, which was what we used for connecting in. It talks you. You can get a SIP account and then connect SIP to SIP for no cost, which is pretty good for connection-wise, and the quality generally is quite good because they use wideband audio. Something like Blink, which is available from icanblink.com. Sorry about the noise in the background. Idiots with huge, great exhausts on their little minis. Drives you crazy. Another one was Xlite, which was available from counterpath.com. You can generally get a month's subscription cost for inclusive costs of phone calls for your continent or for your own country, that kind of thing, or even for across America and North America, depending on the SIP provider that you go with. So it's worth checking that out. If you do a search on your local favorite search engine for SIP provider and have a look at that. Mike, I think, has tried other things besides Skype. I was always out of it for a couple of years, so I'm a little bit out, I'm afraid. I'm not completely up to date with it. Hello. Where did who come from, says Jean says, where did she come from, Steve? Where did she come from? Where did she go? Cotton Eye Joe. I've never tried SIP for video because I'm not a video sort of person. I've got the perfect face for radio, so I've never really tried with video. But as the audio is so good, I would imagine SIP is pretty good too. I'm just trying to think if there was something I had used where there was SIP. It's not something I've sent across, but wait until Mike comes back. I'm sure he's got a recommendation. Or if somebody else in the chat, if you have a recommendation for an alternative for Skype. One that just sprang to mind is Ikiga. I think it's Eikiga. Ikiga seems to ring a bell as an alternative for Skype.
Hold on.
Yeah, sorry about the interruption to the show, but we're trying to get everything back working again. Jeff Bundy says, Steve, of course, now with WebRTC developments such as Appear In, they do appear to have promise. I noticed that a favourite of Mike's, Mixler, have started to charge now, which is a good thing, really, because they were. It's a very good service for streaming, and it's very reasonably priced. Yeah, I think that's how it's spelt. E-I-K-E-G-A or I-G-A, possibly. Let's see if I can find a link for you. One moment, please. Your call is important to us. Let's have a look.
Hello? We are messed up, so...
Yeah, sorry, it's E-K-I-G-A.
Nick, can you hear us? No, he can't hear.
How good is that one there? I seem to remember.
Hello.
Yeah, there you are. Okay,
Nick.
yeah, but I'm gonna have to break the stream once you guys connect and go again because the VVD now it's all squished.
Your audio is I can't even hear you. It's so low.
Oh, wow.
No, like the whole bot. Like Steve, I couldn't hear Steve either.
Do you want to hang up on Skype and then connect back in again? It might.
No, it's not on your end, Steve.
No,
I did.
Does Amnon want to
I
do
did.
that?
I closed Skype twice already and restarted. There's Nick, but it's the VVD is messed up, so everybody's going to be squished.
Oh dear.
So at this point, I'm going to have to restart Wirecast, and that's
Tony says you can hear everybody fine now.
Yeah. Yeah, but the pictures, you can see how it's...
Yeah,
and
the picture's all scrunched.
I have not found any way to correct that.
That's the word for Bruce today, by the way, scrunched. He usually asks me for a word for a Sunday so that he's got a word to bamboozle everybody with. Scrunched.
Yep, no way to do anything here.
Amnon, if you could click the call button on Mike.
The who?
A call button.
On... No, Mike
he is.
Mike is here too, but see, it's all messed up. All right, so at this point, I'm going to have to break. Guys, the stream is going to go away, but it will come back. I'm going to have to close everything.
All right, everybody, hold your breath.
Normal service will be resumed.
Let's see if I can do this.
The trouble is not in your set.
Yeah, please do not adjust your set. Dum, 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 dum. And they had a power cut about half an hour before it was due to start. Apparently there was a massive fire in one of the power distribution centres close by to the BBC centre. So it was a complete and total failure.
All right, I can remove this.
Nick looks old. That's
Brent,
very
you
funny.
can be replaced by a button.
Oh dear.
I hope you get stuck with dial-up.
Government provided dial-up.
Yes.
It's not like Mike to
4
wear
times the
headphones,
price
is it?
of 1 gigabit. I'm in stereo.
Whoa, stereoscopic.
One of your eyes is lower than the other, Mike. I feel sorry for Amnon. He's clicking on and dragging all these buttons and little pictures around all over the place. You need 3 arms, Amnon.
Anyone line up at the Microsoft store in hopes for a free phone? I didn't know we had a Microsoft store. Where's a Microsoft store?
There's probably one in an airport or something.
Very interesting. Thank you, Microsoft.
Why are you thanking Microsoft?
Because they just came up and said Skype stopped working. That never, ever happened.
Maybe it's Skype group video.
Maybe it's taxed.
But Amnon, you have always had issues with this Skype account. Like
No,
the
I
video.
haven't.
Yeah, the last few weeks, the group video's just been kicking off and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's stayed up.
Well, it kicked off once already this morning.
It completely shut down.
Second
No, I
time.
know. I'm saying, but there's been problems with
Yeah.
either the Skype account or the version of Skype. So
Well,
Oh, there's been problems, but it hasn't completely crashed out on us.
No,
before,
no.
has it?
That's the worst it's been in a while.
Well, now that we're back, it's 919-518-9773 if you'd like to give us a call and mock us for trying to keep it working when it is Microsoft and we know darned well it's not really going to. Or you can call us on Computers2know Voice on Skype.
yeah, and you see, and Skype on Computers2know Voice or Skype on the Blog Talk Radio is fine. Nothing happened there.
Spence! Morning, gang.
Am I loud enough now?
yes,
Okay.
Morning, Spence. Nice to see you.
That's why I'm thinking Microsoft. I mean, it's got to have something to do with...
Well, the good thing about Skype free is it comes with a money-back guarantee.
Yep.
just like Daily Motion.
I've just clicked why it's caused us so much problems this morning because I was having that huge, great rant about Windows 8 and they went, nope, not having this, not for giving it to them free.
Yeah.
I was complaining about Time Warner Cable, I think, 2 weeks ago on my show, and my internet went to crap right in the middle of it.
I'm sure they're listening, you know.
Oh, hey, it's another listener.
They've got little ears waiting for the keyword that says rubbish or crap or
I'm fine.
useless.
Another listener is another listener.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could just track the NSA listens, we'd have it made.
No. We're making millions.
We could make a living podcasting. Start our own
some people are
mastermind.
doing that on Mixler. While you were gone, I mentioned that Mixler now charging Mike, which is a good thing.
Yes.
And it's not that expensive either. I mean, $5 is not a lot. Well, £5, I should say. It's not a lot, is it?
No, what they have done, for anyone who doesn't know, Mixler is the audio-only streaming service. Up until May 1st, you could stream 24/7 at 96 kilobits stereo, which is fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. They had a premium account at 128K stereo, all unlimited 24/7. On May 1st, they changed the plans. The free account, you can now stream up to 1 hour for free. If you need to do a second hour, you have to restart the transmission. You have a 1 hour limit. For $5 a month, that goes to 3 hours. Now, you can broadcast 24/7 with either account as long as you don't mind restarting the session after 1 hour or 3 hours, respectively. The same service that we have had that was originally $10 a month is now $20 a month, and it's unlimited 24/7.
Okay.
And it's well worth it for people who need that sort of thing.
If you compare it to some other services, that's dirt cheap.
Mike, we were talking about this and how Shoutcast and Icecaster are very comparable prices as well. So if you want to be able to be,
I'm glad you brought it up because I don't understand everything I know. You or Donovan or someone, I think it was Donovan, was saying that he has a $4 per month Shoutcast account.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
What does that mean when you have a Shoutcast account?
It's not really a Shoutcast account, but it's a Shoutcast server. And it just similar to Mixler, it lets you stream to it. There's normally a cap on listeners, so you can only have, 50 or 100 listeners at a time, which for most people isn't a problem. And you can embed it in an app or use some type of software like Butt or Sam Broadcaster to stream to it, and you're not really locked into Mixler's ecosystem. And you could be listed in directories and stuff like that.
And how do you listen to that Shoutcast stream?
You'd go to the website and there would be a player on there, or you could, or there's going to be a link to open it in like Winamp or iTunes or something.
Forget
like
that. It's got to. How do you play? Can you play it just in the browser?
Yeah, if the person has the right link, then yeah, you can play it in the browser.
I guess what I'm asking is, if let's suppose that you set up a Shoutcast stream today on a website and you have a WordPress blog as your interface, you want people to go to your website and click on a link to listen. What do you have to do in the back end?
Nothing.
Of the
link is already provided. The server generates that link. Or like I have on my website, I have a little.
Are you saying the
flash
server
player.
provides the embedded player as well?
No, the server does not provide the embedded player. It provides the link that's listenable online.
But I'm still missing a connection here.
Which connection?
All right. If I click on a Mixler link, I listen through the browser's built-in Flash player.
Correct.
If I click on a Shoutcast link, what player is triggered to play that link?
Nothing is said. You have to have a player.
Well, that's a disadvantage.
No, it's not a disadvantage at all.
It's just like having to have an app for a certain.
It's not. You don't have to have an app
Stream.
either. The person who's providing the stream just gets a Flash player or an HTML5 player.
So you're saying that the Shoutcast stream can be played with the same
Yes.
Flash player?
Correct.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking because The idea is the ability to have a seamless embedded player such that when you click the link, it immediately begins playing in the browser without having to open Windows Media Player is a benefit. You don't want to have to kick off Winamp or some nonsense like that, in my experience. I mean, I know the guys at Mixler, and I'm a big fan of theirs, and I'm very happy with them. But what I said to them, in fact, I said at $20 a month, you're going to price yourself out of some markets. But at $5 a month, anyone who can't pay $5 a month for a resource is really a taker and not a giver. Because it takes money to operate anything. When they're not running advertising or anything to recover their costs, they have no obligation to provide anything for free. Even whenever they were free, the commercial use that we made of their resources had paid accounts. I've got 2 paid accounts with them.
All right, let's go to something completely different. You think of efficient electric car, and you probably think of the Tesla Model S. Well, you'd be wrong, as the Model S only rated at 89 miles per gallon. I guess miles per gallon electric. As of today, BMW now has the most efficient electric car sold in the U.S. The 2014 i3. The rating were just posted to the internet via a window sticker, and at 124 miles per gallons combined, 138 miles per gallon city, 111 miles per gallon highway. The i3 is currently king of the efficiency race. The nearest competitor, the 2013 Scion IQ EV, with a 38-mile range and 121 miles per gallon rating, but it's not even available to the general public. Other competitors are mostly compliance cars, such as the Chevy Spark EV and Fiat 500e. So where does this leave us? Well, BMW just won the race for now, but for how long? And who's going to take it less? Can you imagine 124 miles per gallon from BMW? Now, they don't say what's the range. It may be 50 miles, but this is really nice. We've been watching how more and more miles per gallons cars are coming about. And remember, it started with that Honda hybrid, and it was like supposed to get 50, but it was actually getting 30 some. And the funny thing here is, when you think about miles per gallon, you think 40 highway, 28 city. The highway is always higher. Here it's different. 138 miles per gallon city, 111 miles per gallon highway. So it's less on the highway than in city. And Nick and I were talking about it yesterday, and I said I think this is because on the highway you're required to put your foot down a lot farther, so you're using more juice. Because over here it's not starting and stopping. So it's who's going to buy one? Of course, they don't say how much it's going to cost. And it is a BMW, so who knows? And Dan is saying 185 miles per charge on the extended range version. $139 miles per generated kilowatt. Interesting.
All right, I have a technical question here. So what happens when a set of websites are unavailable because one of the hops is experiencing 100% packet loss?
You have to wait till somebody fixes it.
Shit.
Yeah, in many cases, I mean, the ring should take care of it, the fiber ring, but
Well, it's been like this for 2 days.
who?
I don't know who.
No, I mean, what's down?
Oh, Craig Digital Designs, of course.
Oh, really?
It's not down. He can't reach it.
It's not down. I just can't. I can't reach it. Not an important site though. No reason I would need to get to that.
Seems like there's a lot of Daily Motion is still down.
Yeah, but that's Dailymotion's server, and they've pulled that down themselves. I'm getting a destination unreachable on one of the hops.
Have you tried? You know what you could do, Nick? If you had to get into it today, you could do a proxy.
I don't care. I mean, I don't need to get into it right now, but there's nobody I call.
Well, not at the host. I mean, you'd be calling somebody in Time Warner.
Yeah, no. I know I wouldn't call anybody at the host.
There's a way around the problem if it persists, but it can be a pain, and that is you go into your router and change the MAC address, turn it off for 10 minutes, turn it back on. You'll pull a new IP address, which will have different routing.
Yeah,
Maybe.
It's worked every time I've ever tried it, but if it doesn't change IP addresses, it's not going to change anything.
I can change the IP address. I can force that. But how do I view which hop has the problem if it just says destination address unreachable?
Trace route.
I'm using Ping Plotter.
That sort of works, but it's
So I should just do a trace route then?
I do a trace route because it'll give you the single route.
All right.
Ping Plotter actually pings them all at the same time. It's a neat thing to tell you if you have a problem, but there's a little more skill in interpreting its output than I have.
All right, here we go. All right.
So, in its bid to win regulatory approval for its proposed $45 billion takeover of Time Warner Cable, Comcast has offered to sell 1.4 million paid TV subscribers to Charter Communications for $7.3 billion. And from the article, it says Comcast also said it would divest another 2.5 million subscribers into a new publicly traded company, dubbed SpinCo for now, to be 1/3 owned by Charter and 2/3 owned by Comcast shareholders. The deal will make Charter, whose own bid for Time Warner Cable was thwarted by Comcast's higher offer, the second biggest U.S. pay TV company with 5.7 million customers, overtaking Cox Communications. Selling 1.4 million pay TV subscribers for $7.3 billion. How much is that per customer?
Got more money than sense just to get their own way.
Yep.
I'm not really sure how to read this, Nick. He's sending me his trace route. I don't know whether the issue is at 209.117.27.78 or whether it's the hop after that.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Normally it's the hop after it.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's nothing there. It just says request unavailable or something like that.
But there's nothing you can do about it anyway.
Well, what you do is you find...
Well, if I knew that the hop was a problem, I could at least contact somebody and make them aware that there's a problem.
You cannot contact a provider that's downstream from...
no, I understand that, but I could at least contact Time Warner and say, hey, guys, you got a problem here.
Right.
Yeah, good luck with that.
And you tell them that it is the hop after such and such.
But that's only from my location.
That's all that you care about.
And they're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah, they will.
No, they won't.
All right.
They'll tell you to wait a week, and if it doesn't clear up, call us back.
So would I just call and say I need to get to level 3 support?
Yeah, good luck saying that.
Yeah, and they're going to have you reset your modem and router and reinstall Windows and all that, and they'll might get to it.
Get a Mac.
Oh, yes.
Get a Mac. I
I'm
haven't
sure that
heard
will
that in a
solve
long
all of
time,
my
Mike.
problems.
Speaking of Macs, there is a lot of discussion lately, a surprising amount of discussion in the professional voiceover groups about fan noise on MacBook Pro. Apparently, these things sound like wind tunnels whenever they're in the high-speed mode, and also apparently the more they're used, the more they attract dust, the more they tend to overheat. And in fact, they say that these things get so hot you can't keep your hand on them. And these are professional audio people who are complaining about the noise on a MacBook Pro. I know what they got to be doing something wrong.
The fan is horrendous on those things.
They got to do something. They got to be doing something wrong. Can't be the Mac.
Yeah, that's true. But well, I don't even think they needed fans.
They're
I
cool.
thought they just worked.
You see, the price of the MacBook Air went down $100.
They took some
Okay.
air out of it.
Can't hear you, Amnon.
Not again.
Well, you know, if you keep moving your mouth away from the microphone, we can't hear you. As soon as you come back and say not again, you're loud and clear.
The MacBook Air. So they've done a mid 2014 slight upgrade to the MacBook Air, and now the 13-inch or the 11-inch starts at $899. So a little bit faster and $100 cheaper.
Wonder why.
Yeah, I had that discussion a Thursday night, and it's either they just lowered the price, which is unlikely, or that there's something going on inside of Apple, and they're either A, not selling these, or B, they're not selling enough. I wonder if this is something serious. Maybe it's not, but
I certainly have no idea. I mean, I was reading some information on Apple's success as a company this past week, and it's impressive. It's very impressive how much money that this company is doing, even in recent quarters. Spencer says that there is panic in the boardroom because Apple growth is way down. And Spence, correct me. We teased a lot, but I'm serious about this. So far, the numbers don't show that. The numbers show that they're doing tremendously well. I mean, their profits are just astronomical. They have enough money to buy so many things that are out there. I wish I could find the information that showed how well that they are doing. But I'm wondering if, Spence, they are seeing economic indicators suggesting that their future growth is going to be down, or is their growth really down now? I don't know.
see, Eric is saying that they haven't changed the design, so the production is cheaper. Apple doesn't drop the price of stuff.
And I agree with what you say, Nick. And I mean, Eric keeps up with this stuff with Apple. He's an Apple fanboy, and he's one of their avid defenders. But it says they haven't changed their design, so the longer it's in production, the cheaper they can drop. They've always been able to drop the price. They've never had to. They've never had to. And good for them. I mean, if you can get your price, don't go sell on price. That's the same with any product. If people will buy it at twice what it's worth, then sell it for twice what it's worth if you want to make the most profits you can and become part of that 1%. But Spence is saying that their projections are showing single-digit growth. Well, all that being said, and he says that iPhones and iPads are the go-to computer these days. Well, but there's some discussion, too, about Android versus iPhone. That's not a settled question either. I'm an iPhone user. I don't like anything Apple, really, but I'm an iPhone user, and I will probably get the new one depending on what's in it when it comes out. So I don't know how that's going to impact me, but here's the situation I'm dealing with. because I'm having to transition, I've got one XP computer left to transition away from. And I'm in the same dilemma as everyone else. Windows 7, Windows 8, what do I do with it? Well, my office computer over here that I use with a dock with 3 monitors at the office is a Windows 7 Lenovo laptop. I very easily could do the same thing at home, have a laptop here with multiple monitors. That's one option. But honest to goodness, with all of this nonsense that's gone on with Windows 8, with Windows 8.1, if I could go and buy a Mac Pro that is a current model.
You mean a MacBook Pro?
No, Mac Pro that had PCIe slots in it, I probably would have purchased one in the last 30 days. But they have left me behind. They're not interested in what I need in a computer because my needs are so limited compared to the marketplace.
Well, yeah, but the MacBook Air is limited for almost anybody.
Well, yes, but the MacBook Air, which I had one.
Oh, I'm sorry, not the MacBook Air, the Mac Pro.
Let me tell you, I'm in some professional audio groups, recording studios. The guys who buy these things, and they're slamming it. No one is touching it. And the reason why.
Which one, the MacBook Pro or the MacBook Air?
Both. Not the Air. Forget the Air. The MacBook Pro and the Mac Pro.
Nobody wants the Mac Pro because you can't do anything with it.
Except Thunderbolt.
Yeah, and the Thunderbolt stuff is extremely expensive.
So these guys have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 worth of hardware investment in Pro Tools and so forth. And now they're told, oh, you got to go out and buy all new Thunderbolt adapters or this or that or the other. So these guys are stuck with Mac Pros, older model Mac Pros, and no upgrade path.
People are moving. Leo Laporte and Twit are moving from Final Cut on old Mac Pros to Adobe Premiere on Windows PCs. People are making the switch. Who the hell is going to spend $1,000 on a PCIe expansion slot for a Mac?
Just for the privilege of using a Mac Pro.
Yeah.
When in fact you don't know that it's going to be totally compatible because a lot of these recording interfaces they don't sell millions of them. They don't have the development behind them that a lot of other applications do. And that's where you run into some compatibility issues.
Yeah. This is Apple has definitely they've pissed off a lot of people with the new Mac Pro. I mean, a company is not going to drop $5,000 total on a MacBook, or not a MacBook, a Mac Pro with a PCIe adapter and Thunderbolt monitors. I mean, that stuff's expensive.
My first professional exposure to Apple since the year 2000 even whenever, when Mac ecosystem was in the recording studio business, where originally Pro Tools was only available for Mac. If you wanted Pro Tools, you had to buy a Mac. And these guys were typical Mac fanboys, and justifiably so, because they would get these Mac Pros. They were running Pro Tools. They never had any issues, no viruses, no crashes, no blue screens of death. Everything just worked. It was a good system. And these guys became die-hard Mac fans, and they even bought the MacBook Pros and Airs and all that when they came out. These guys have turned on them like you would not believe. And I think it's because they all would go out and buy a new Mac Pro to upgrade their systems. They upgrade from Pro Tools 10 to Pro Tools 11. They can't upgrade their hardware. They're stuck. They're abandoned. I thought it was just me not understanding what was available. So I actually posted in one of the premier Usenet groups with some guys I really know in this stuff. And was asking them, not even so much the Apple question, but what interface is this? A complex question. But boy, they jumped on the Apple thing, and they were just slamming them. And these are fans. I mean, Apple has rarely done anything to piss off the fanboys. That's where they have had extraordinary success in the marketplace. They have people who are willing to make up technical specs, who have been willing to apologize for their screw-ups and defend them to the death. And got to tell you, as a business person, you cannot ask for that from your customer base. That's well done on their part. But boy, when you start pissing off that fan base, now you got an issue.
Yep.
Well, this is an article about that. It says Christina Bonington reports that the public is not gobbling up iPads like they used to. Analysts had projected iPad sales would reach 19.7 million, but Apple sold 16.35 million iPads, a drop of roughly 16.4% since last year. For many, the iPads they have is good enough. Unlike a phone with significant new features like Touch ID or better camera, the iPad's improvements over the past few years have been more subtle. The latest iteration features a better Retina display, a slimmer design, and faster processing. Yes, but enough to justify a near $1,000 purchase? Others seems to be finding that their smartphones can do the job that their tablets used to do just as well.
Where I'm confused. Where's $1,000 purchase come in?
I don't know how much is an iPad.
Like $500?
All right.
Well, it's more than that for the Retina version.
No, it's not more. I don't think it's more than that. It's not anywhere close to $1,000 unless you max it out.
While the continued success of the iPad may be up in the air, another formerly popular member of Apple's products line is definitely
Eric says
on the
loaded.
way.
It's $1,000.
Yeah, the base one is $499 for the iPad Air, which is the most recent one, and the Retina is $399.
Extra?
And the Mini Retina. No. I'm saying that's the price. It's $399.
Oh,
So I don't know where.
But at some point they were in the $599, $699 because at one point I thought about buying one.
I mean,
And
Nick is
I
saying
ain't
that's
paying
the,
$600.
Nick's saying that's the base.
Yeah, but who? That's like saying, oh, my phone is $1,000 if I get 64 gigs of built-in storage. Yeah, of course, but that article is extremely misleading.
Well, okay, but enough to justify a near $500 purchase? Is that making you feeling better?
Over time, yeah.
It says
if you had a non-Retina device, I don't know if any of you guys have looked at a Retina screen, but the Retina iPads are beautiful.
Eric posted a link to compare them, and you'll see more of what Amnon's talking about, because what we're talking about now when we talk about pricing is, for example, the iPad with Retina display, 16 gig is $399. With cellular, it's 16 gig and $529. The iPad Mini I wouldn't want, the iPad Mini, iPad Air. So, I mean, some of these models don't even make sense to me, because I'm looking now at the iPad with Retina display, 16 gig or nothing. There's no 32, 64, 128 gig. I don't get it.
It's older. The iPad with Retina is the older one. The iPad Air is the new one. That's why it's
I don't
cheap.
get it. I mean, you can get an iPad. All right. I see what you're saying. So the Air is a 9.7.
Correct. The Air is the Air is the new iPad with Retina display.
So they should discontinue that one.
Well, they still have some left. That's why they probably only have the 16 gig left.
So for purposes of this discussion, we're looking at the iPad Air
or the iPad Mini with Retina display. Yes,
I don't care about Mini; it's too small. But the iPad Air, I mean, when I hear the word Air in Mac, it generally to me means cheaper and with fewer features. So maybe that's not what it means with the iPad. So 16 gig is $500, 32 gig $600, 64 $700, 128 gig $800. Add cellular and 128 gig, and you're up to $929. And if you have to add a cable, that add another $100. So you're at $1,000.
Who I don't know who would buy a 128 gigabyte iPad.
if you use it primarily, maybe. I don't know.
No,
Vance.
you think somebody would buy one?
Vance
Why do
Willis.
they? Wait a second.
What do you store on it?
Wait, why do they have it with 128 gig?
I have no clue who buys that. My SSD isn't even 128 gigs, and it's not full.
Yeah, better than that. I got an SSD I can't even find.
I don't know how you would fill up 128 gigs on an iPad.
Easy. You just put your entire music collection on it.
Even that, really? Your entire music selection? I mean, geez.
My entire music collection is over 1 gigabyte. Sorry, over a terabyte.
Terabyte.
It's a gigabyte. Wake up,
Oh,
Steve.
well, yeah,
It's
of
not
course.
1986.
Oh, if that's the case, then you might as well just carry around a desktop tower with you and put a monitor on it.
No, you just carry around a little Samsung M3 1 terabyte portable drive. Just plug it into your TV, and you've got your entire music collection. It might take you three and a half weeks to search through to find the track you're looking for, but it's there.
I mean, my phone is 8 gigs, and I'm not even using half of it. I don't know what you could possibly put on 100. Everything is streamed. I don't know what you could possibly put on 128 gigs of storage. That just seems insane to me.
Well, if it's streamed, then you're paying extra for the bandwidth, and you've got to watch your caps
No,
and things like that.
not if you're on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but it's more convenient if it's on the 128 built in. It's just I know it's there somewhere. I'll just click search and then play.
And then you're paying $800 for an iPad.
Yeah, but then you've got more money than sense anyway.
There must be people out there who are buying it because otherwise it wouldn't be available.
Well, I'm sure that there's
an option.
I'm sure that there's business people that are buying it, but for the normal consumer, I'm not sure that you would need 128. I know for a fact you don't need 128 gigs.
But this is a little tongue in cheek. But you know, Apple fanboys don't care about price.
Yeah, but I'm not arguing that. But
that's core to the infrastructure. The Apple infrastructure is they are not selling on price.
I think that Dan is saying that he needs 128 gigs of storage.
For what?
That's what I'm trying to get at. What are you possibly storing on an iPad all the time that you need over 100 gigabytes of storage?
This, Alan says he cares about price, then you don't get to be an Apple fanboy. Because you have to take that out of your vocabulary to be an Apple fanboy. That's part of the right to be able, RITE, to be able to be in that club. So, but this i7 that I'm on now has a 120 gig SSD.
As does my computer, has a 120 gig SSD.
And I've got another one around here somewhere I can't find.
I win. I got 240.
I've got a 240 that I'm testing with as well.
All of mine are SSDs now. Even the little netbook is a SSD.
Eric, I think the argument is here, but can you have a Chevy that would cost as much as a Benz?
Yeah.
That's the...
Well, his argument's a little specious because he says it's like driving a Chevy versus a Mercedes.
Yeah.
Well, the fact of the matter is it's like buying a Chevy at a reasonable price or buying a high-price Chevy because you're convinced it's a Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, I want to hear what...
120 gig SSD is probably still $100 or so, depending on the brand.
I paid $60 for each of my two, but it was a heck of a deal.
Yeah, you could find them on sale, but I think the Samsung...
Who's going to need more than 20 megabyte hard drive on a computer? Remember, Mike?
Well, no, that was Bill Gates who said, why does anybody need more than 640K of RAM?
Yeah.
I remember
okay, so
first
it's
10 megabyte hard drive, or hard card it was. It was built onto an expansion card. And I thought it was a whopping great lump. You could like wedge your door open with it, or even stop your car from rolling away with it. It was such a huge chunk. And I thought to myself, 10 megabytes. What the hell am I going to do to put 10 megabytes on it? God, it's going to take weeks to fill this up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Samsung 840 is $96 and it's 120 gig.
Yeah.
You could find deals. There's no arguing that. I saw one today. I'll post it in chat. I don't remember who the brand was. Where is it? Here's a 120 gig PNY SSD. I'm not sure how the PNY ones are.
PNY is fine. They are the ones that make a lot of SSDs and flash drives for other companies.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I've heard that.
60 gigs with a $10 rebate. Or, I'm sorry, $69 with the $10 rebate.
Yeah. Okay, but then you still didn't say why you need 128 gig. I was waiting for this.
No, I would like to, if somebody that would buy a 128 gig iPad, I'm really interested in what they constantly do 128 gigs worth of storage.
Well, I'll answer the question for you, and I'm sure that everyone will agree that the biggest benefit of having such a large hard drive is it allows you to be sloppy with your file management.
There's no file management.
You don't have to go in and delete files that you don't need anymore for a long time.
You're talking about on a desktop.
Well, but if you're going to put it on songs or books or whatever you're going to load onto it, a file's a file.
Yeah, movies. But how long do you keep a movie on there? Do you install a movie and you leave it on there for forever? How many times do you watch it?
My kids would. They watch the same stuff over and over and over and over again.
Okay,
and that would probably be the biggest consumer of drive space would be movies, I would think.
Yeah. But a movie's not like a song where you listen to it over and over. I mean, for most people.
My daughter is amazing. My younger daughter, particularly, she'll say, "I want you guys to watch something," and this movie will be on. We'll be watching TV and not even paying attention. Well, let me back up. We'll be in the room with the TV on, and this movie's on. She'll say, "Oh, did you guys ever see this movie?" No. So we'll sit there, start watching it a few minutes, and they'll come up to some part in it, and she'll make some line about, the car really went fast over that particular intersection. Then on TV, they'll say, the car went really particularly fast in that intersection. It's just amazing how they have memorized such subtle parts of these things. Of course, she's coming close to a photographic memory, I think. She doesn't have one.
Dan, we thought that you said, I do, when Nick asked who needs 128 gigs. So sorry about that.
With Google Drive and iCloud, and particularly if anybody's not using Google Play Music, you're missing out on that. But with all that stuff, I just don't see the reason for you to be storing 120 or even more than 32 gigs worth of stuff on it. Pictures, pictures maybe.
What if you don't have Wi-Fi and you're somewhere where you want to play your music?
Yeah, well, you can do that with Google Play Music. You can download. You can click on the songs and download them.
And where do
Wi-Fi should be a constitutional right.
And where do you put them, Nick?
It stores on the device.
Oh, but the device doesn't have it. This is like there's a hole in the bucket.
I'm not 128 gigs worth of music. I mean, come on. I understand
I don't
people
know.
have that music library, but do you really need that on your device? I don't think so.
I don't know.
But it's my constitutional right.
If you feel the need to spend $800 on a 128 gigs worth of storage on an iPad, then more power to you. I don't see what the benefit of it would be. I use a lot of storage, and I couldn't imagine using that on a mobile device. I don't know what you store on it. There's no programs. The apps are not huge. I don't get it.
You said that, I think I'm looking at the same thing you were looking at, Nick. You said the Samsung 840 EVO series 120 gigabyte drive is $90.
Yeah.
It's at Amazon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those 840s are good, by the way.
I was going to say that these may be the one that's real slim. They don't work in every computer unless you may have to go and actually put a spacer in there to keep them from flopping around in some, depending on how it works. But when they're down to $1 a gigabyte, as far as I'm concerned, rotary drives are out the door. They're getting close. They're getting there. I'm still having an issue, though, with some of my computers that have SSDs. Windows 7 is supposed to detect that you have an SSD and disable disk defragmenting. And so far, that has not happened on mine. Now, I'm told that it works better whenever you install Windows 7 from scratch instead of whenever you image the disk over from the rotary drive, but then Windows 7 is still supposed to detect that it's an SSD and gray out the defragment option.
Where do you have a defrag by default?
If you go to the drive, go to Properties, then go to Tools, you will see the option to defragment the drive.
Oh, so you're not saying that it's doing it. You said that it's allowing you to do it when you should. Okay.
You're not even supposed to be able to click on it.
Yeah.
I installed Windows on my drive, and it allows me to do it.
Yeah, but you made it. Make sure it's turned off.
It doesn't defrag though.
Right. Make sure that it's not set to do it.
Where would I look at that?
I'd have to go look through it. Just something about scheduled scans or something like that.
Yeah. If you go to this defragger,
Go to Properties,
Defragmenter.
Tools, Defragment Now, and there's a schedule there. Make sure it is turned off.
yeah, you have to turn it on. It's not on by default.
Mine was
Configure
turned
schedule.
on by default.
No, mine is not on.
But it'll show, even when it runs, it'll show it as 0% fragmented anyway because the SSDs don't work the same.
Yeah. Yeah, the scheduled defragment is turned off. And the thing has never been run. On my main drive, it's never been run.
Yeah. Well, it may be I have some bad information. There's a possibility that it does not run, but it may not gray out. But I specifically read that people were saying that it was supposed to be grayed out and that there may even be a registry hack where you can go in and disable it.
What would be the benefit of having it grayed out? I mean, if you don't click on it, it's
You
not
don't
a problem.
accidentally run it or some. I mean, it really has to do with when you're supporting computers for other people.
Oh,
and
okay.
They don't know the difference.
Yeah. I'm not even sure most people know what disk defragging even is.
Yeah.
Well, there's a new Firefox, guys.
Oh, well.
Firefox 29.
You could have said that last week.
Yeah, there's yet a new one. And it looks almost the same as Chrome.
It looks exactly like Chrome. And Amnon and I were talking about this. Was this yesterday, Amnon?
Yeah.
It shows who the superior browser is.
What does that mean?
I don't agree with that, though.
So if you have not installed the latest version of Firefox, it is exactly a Chrome ripoff. It's got the settings button on the side. The tab menu is exactly the same.
Yep.
They have totally ripped it off.
That's okay.
Which I'm fine with. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
I
But that
tell
just
you
shows.
I tell you what's the bad thing. The bad thing is they took the Firefox logo off of it, so you don't
Yeah, you
know
can't
whether
tell.
you're looking at Chrome or you're looking at Firefox when you're using both. It's really, I mean, the only way that I know how to differentiate is because it has the file edit view menu at the top. But it was
Everybody always says that there's all these bugs in Chrome. I've never experienced these bugs in Chrome that everybody talks about. I'm not a Chrome fanboy. I don't have any issues with it.
It crashes all the time on me.
I've never had, maybe once or twice I've had Chrome crash. Maybe once or twice. I never have had these bugs though.
It's terrible. Search for the built-in Flash client in Chrome. It's horrible.
Built-in Flash client.
Well, talking about Flash, researchers at Kaspersky Lab have uncovered a zero-day Adobe Flash vulnerability that affects Windows, OS X, and Linux. While the exploit Kaspersky observed attacked only computers running Microsoft Windows, the underlying flaw, which is formally categorized as CVE 2014-1776 and resides in Flash component known as the Pixel Bender, is present in the Adobe application built for OS X and Linux machines as well. Adobe has reportedly patched the bug for all platforms. Researchers first detected the bug from attacks performed on 7 Syrian computers. The attack seemed to have been hosted on the Syrian Ministry of Justice website, which has led to speculation that these are state-sponsored vulnerability exploits. The speculation is further supported by evidence that one of the exploits was designed to target computers that have the Cisco Systems Meeting Place Express add-in version 5x0 installed. The app is used to view documents and images during web conference. So here it is. Windows, OS X, and Linux.
Did you talk about IE already?
Yeah, we talked about it
We did.
while you were asleep.
For anyone who's, you go ahead and repeat it for anyone who.
Go ahead,
New.
Nick.
No, I know you guys are. If you guys already talked about
No,
it, there was
go- I
just
mean,
there was a
well-
big Internet Explorer issue. If you're using Internet Explorer, you need to stop using it.
No, you haven't heard. Microsoft actually released a patch for it this week, even for XP.
They did, and no, I did see that, but this you should not be using.
What do you
Internet
mean you
Explorer.
didn't see that? You talked about it Thursday night.
I said I did see
You did
that.
see it.
Oh.
No,
You say I didn't see
You
it.
should still not be using Internet Explorer though,
Why?
because that thing's a train wreck. This thing has been in every version of Internet Explorer. If you're still using Internet Explorer, you're asking for it.
I don't use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
agree.
come on.
But I mean, Firefox got extremely bloated. Chrome crashes all the time, and Chrome is a real hog. If you don't believe it,
Oh
If
yeah,
you're running-
every tab is it's its own process. It's a total.
and if you
hog.
don't believe it, right-click on your taskbar, open Windows Task Manager, go to Processes, and look how many instances of Chrome there are running at one time.
Yep. But
Yeah. That makes it quick though.
I don't find it any quicker than Firefox, except when Firefox locks up.
well,
other than that,
I installed the update and I like it that I'm going to go back to Firefox.
hey, whoever can provide me with the best browser, I'll use. I'm not a fanboy to any of them. I just haven't noticed these issues.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm a pretty intensive user as well. So that's, and as Amnon and Mike know, that I normally that stuff pisses me off when that stuff happens. So
And Steve likes Opera, and Dan's using Safari, but Safari for Windows is discontinued.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
it's bad for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. And the last thing I want is Apple writing software for Windows. Oh, what is iTunes over 100 megabytes?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh,
Well, Opera is nice, but it's Java.
What's wrong with Java?
horrible.
What's wrong with Java?
A lot.
Horrible. Horrible.
It's not a
You
vulnerability.
can turn Java off for a lot of sites.
Yeah. Anyway,
Jeff Bundy says that unfortunately, there are business applications written specifically for IE. Here's small business runs $10 million of annual business with just such an app. Java and IE, it's about business.
It's unfortunate.
talking about Jeff, Nick, did you chat with Jeff about what you need to do about your radio?
No.
Ordered an antenna. Did it work? Did it work?
No, the antenna is worse. Which is interesting because according to Amazon, it gave people a mile worth of a mile plus of range in an urban setting, and it's actually worse than the stock one. Yeah, so I bought this little radio that we talked about last week, and it's all right, but I don't have reception from my desk. So for me to use it, I have to be next to the window, and that's just not ideal for my setup. So I'm not sure if I'm going to return it or not. I haven't made up my mind yet. Because I'm definitely not going to buy an antenna and put it outside. It's not worth spending $100 on an antenna.
Are you sure you can't find a website where the entire output of the repeater is streamed?
Correct. This repeater does not have a web stream.
I'll help them set one up.
How can I help them set one up? To set it up, you have to have good reception for it. That's how these people.
No,
work.
not at your house. Go to the repeater if they got internet access and give them a Pentium 4 computer to set up a 24/7 stream for it.
There you go, Nick.
Yeah, the
Like-
stock
like
antenna
it.
is the best.
Like Amnon does with G12.
Oh, the problem is the repeater's on the top of a building.
Well, I understand, but they probably have elevators.
It's a medical building. So where would I put the computer outside?
Jeff,
You'd be surprised. They've got to have an equipment room to have the repeater there. You would put the computer inside the repeater room, in the equipment room.
Jeff,
Question is whether they have internet that you can access.
Why don't you call in, Jeff, so you can talk on Computers 2K voice?
I wish Bruce was here because I was interested in his experience.
If you can, because that's an interesting.
Yeah,
thing,
Echolink.
And
there
Nick
he is.
is anxious to know what he should do. And
what is Echolink?
Echolink is a way to connect nodes from one to another through the internet.
I don't understand.
So how can I? Try to think of the best. I'm probably not the best person to describe it.
Let me ask another question. Are your grandparents any closer to the towers than you are?
I have to look at a map.
If you can pick it up at their house, you could set up a computer over there that you could access it 24/7 with the browser.
Yeah, I have to. It's all based on elevation, and of course, the main repeater is in downtown Albany, and is only 100 feet above sea level, and I'm 400.
Right, but this could be kind of interesting. You could be creative. One of the things that you could do is if you know anyone who is closer, even though your co-host or anyone who's closer who's internet savvy, all you got to do is get an old laptop, get this NCH software that Amnon has, take the little receiver there, leave it there, plug a headphone in, plug it into the input jack, and boom, there you go. All you have to have is an IP address, and you can access it 24/7.
I guess
Echolink is just a way for you to you link. So it's a way for you to pick up another repeater and then broadcast it to a tower. That's what I think most people use it for.
And these guys that you are connecting with in the ham group, they could probably help you with it too.
Yeah.
Interesting. Look at what Jeff just put there.
What did Amnon say, Nick?
Oh, shush. I'm looking down at I said, look at what Jeff...
I know you are.
Look at what... Well, it's pointing at my mouth.
Well, I don't care.
Yeah, see, I haven't. There's just I don't think the ham radio thing is big here.
Oh, I think you'd be surprised.
I was listening last night, and the local repeater was connected to the node 9050, which is a just like a big East Coast node. It's an East Coast reflector, which I'm not even sure what that means.
You just need to wait until nighttime and talk skip.
I don't know what that
do
means.
that on those frequencies. Jeff says you remote into their machine using Skype for audio and radio software. It works nicely. I've connected with others over the world with their rig via their rig. It cost me $25 a year.
Oh, so he's saying that those people broadcasting, you just call in on Skype and listen to it. I mean, I don't know. I kind of want this for like an emergency situation thing. I don't want it to.
Nick doesn't want to become a ham.
Yeah. In terms of like buying all the radios and stuff like that, I really have no interest in doing that. The stuff is extremely expensive, and it's just not something that interests me totally. But I'd like to be able, in an emergency situation, be able to either make a report or hear what's going on. If there's, I mean, we get pretty bad snowstorms and stuff during the winter where power can be out for days, and being able to listen and or communicate via ham would be ideal.
Right. Well, but to be able to communicate though, you got to have the license. So that's
which I will be getting. I will be getting the license.
That's worth it. I think that's worth the trouble.
So it's
Although
only
in a true emergency, I would communicate without a license, but that's just... Did you figure out how to turn on the 100 hertz tone so that it transmits?
Yeah, that stuff's easy.
Okay.
The device is great. I'm not in an ideal location.
If you went outside, could you hit the repeater?
I can hit the repeater from my room.
From the window.
I have to sit on the other side of the room next to the window.
Okay. So for emergency uses, you have value.
Correct. Okay. I can use it in emergency uses.
All right.
But I can't listen to it from here. Which, like you said, in an emergency situation is fine, but I'd like to be able to listen.
You actually, Nick, could put the radio next to the window on a little holder.
Nope.
Why?
And then run a mixer to run a cable to my mixer.
Sure.
Nope. Acts as an antenna, it kills the signal.
Yeah.
Say that again.
The cable from the headphone out of the mixer, or the headphone out of the radio to my mixer, kills the signal. It acts as an antenna.
It's too long, I guess, or something. But you know, Mike, how sometimes a certain length of cable will actually make your reception worse. So he tried it yesterday. He said, I can't hear a thing. I said, well, just unplug it and see if you can hear something.
Yep. And it worked fine.
Sure enough.
Well,
so it needs to be
sure.
something. So he needs to have a better antenna, or something that's hooked to the antenna is a real antenna, even if it's just running up to his attic. And at that point, that may be that he'll be able to run a... he even tried a ground loop isolator. Didn't work.
Well, the ground loop isolator, let me ask, well, actually, that's interesting. You tried a ground loop isolator where?
Right out of the radio to see if it would not use the cable as an antenna.
I see. So you put it in series with the audio line.
Correct. But
Okay.
it still totally killed the signal.
Well, that's because of those frequencies. It completely ignores the ground loop isolator.
I guess so.
But you might be able to use something like a ferrite core to get around it. But
I don't know. I mean, I'm not even sure if I'm that interested in it. Stuff is not cheap, and that's the big problem.
well, get a Mac.
I remember being a kid and having my mother was seamstress, so she had a bunch of thread cores, which were about maybe 4 inches long, cardboard, and we used to wrap wire around it, just wrap, and then take a ferrite and stick it in and out, and you could change stations on a crystal radio. Is that what you're talking about, Mike?
Similar to that, yes. But the ones I'm talking about are more like the ones you see in your computer cables, where they have this big blob at the cable, like a USB cable. Those are very small versions of ferrite cores.
Okay. Yeah, it is cool old stuff. Now,
But that's interesting. I don't know whether I don't know whether Gary is still here, but there's actually a lot of discussion going on now about where the next generation of broadcast engineers are going to come from, because the business of being a radio station engineer is in serious trouble. If you know how to keep a radio station on the air, they're going to put you operating on 10, 15 radio stations at one time. They're going to put you in a position where you need to have 4 people and they're going to have 1, which means you don't get to sleep, you don't get to go on vacation, you don't get to spend any family time. And maintaining a broadcast transmitter actually requires quite a bit of technical skill, even to the point that if you're not careful, you'll get killed, because these things use very high voltage tubes in many cases.
Mm-hmm.
So there is certainly a dilemma as to where to get the next generation of broadcast engineers. I mean, I would never train my son to be one. I wouldn't wish that lifestyle on him. So it's interesting.
The less available, the more money they make.
Well, unfortunately, though, for some reason, that hasn't proved to be quite as true. It just hasn't shaken out yet. Eventually, it will, but so far, it hasn't shaken out yet. There are a lot of these old timers, and if I were doing that stuff, I would be one of them. But it's just not worth the risk. Is not worth the reward.
I mean, a radio station cannot be licensed without an engineer. Correct?
I don't think that's true anymore. They simply hold the radio station responsible for compliance with all the technical aspects.
Oh.
And the problem is the station cannot be, cannot be in compliance without an engineer.
Well,
so here's a guy, getting back to computers, I'm trying to help a guy with a computer problem. He's down in the he's on the coast of North Carolina. Brilliant woodworker. And he has 2 identical laptops, both running Windows 8. He is able to get on the internet and do everything just fine, but his wife's laptop will not get onto the internet. What we had him do was obviously run malware bytes and so forth, make sure he doesn't have a problem with any malware or viruses. Another fella had him run TDSS Killer from Kaspersky. Did not find any threats. He checks his internet connection. IPv6 shows no internet, but IPv4 shows internet connection. However, my laptop shows the same thing and it's working fine. I tried restoring to the earliest restore point on the computer, but that didn't help either. I was thinking of reinstalling Firefox, but Chrome and IE have the same timeout problem, so I doubt it's about a browser problem. I'm now officially out of ideas.
Are both laptops finding their own IPs, or have they been pre-configured?
I'm sure they're DHCP, but whether it's fine, I mean, I haven't spoken with the guy. I've just been back and forth with him on this forum, so I don't know if it's getting an IP address, because if it's not getting an IP address, that would suggest to me that he's got a problem with the receiver in his computer.
Yeah, if he's defined the IP addresses on both laptops and he's given it both the same one, then only one will connect, won't it? Might be an idea to check just to make sure.
But even if he had, I doubt he's done, I don't think he knows how to do that. But even if he had, I would suspect that even then, sometimes one would connect and the other would not.
Yeah, it's only going to connect one, isn't it? So whichever one it will happen to be first. But if there's always one on and he's trying to get the other one working as well, and it's set to the same, it never will it?
Yeah, so I'm going to probably send him back the message here.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, I'm not.
With video. Now I have 2 files that I record. I mean, the Wirecast. I'm recording with Wirecast.
Yes.
So there are 2 files now because we had to break.
Oh, boy.
Now, is there any kind of utility that will just take them and put them together, or do you have to do an editing and saving it again?
I would assume you'd have to save it again. I've never used any software to do it. There might be one. I'm not sure. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's no big deal. I mean, just a matter of time.
Yeah. Now, personally, I've never used any software that just pushes 2 videos together.
I was distracted. What are you trying to do, Amnon?
Take care, Spence. Right now, there is Computers2know 1 and Computers2know 2. Because when Skype died, I had to restart Wirecast also. Mm-hmm. And at that point, it broke it in 2. It started a new file. I want to take those 2 and put them together. Now, I know I can put them... Huh?
What format are they in?
MP4.
Can't you do that in Almost any editing software?
Yeah, in an editing, but then you have to load it and save it, and that takes forever.
Well, no, that you would only, you're trying to combine them without doing re-encoding.
Correct. That's
Yeah,
what I was
without
wondering,
rendering.
if there's
Yeah.
something that will do it.
I know how to do it with MP3, and
Bruce is
I don't
saying XSplit 2 public beta is working well for me. If you're an XSplit user, check it out. It's got some new features. Maybe it's got a feature built in that will join two together.
XSplit's a switching software.
Yeah.
I doubt that.
Okay.
Is
Never know.
There's loads and loads of them out there. Have a look on SourceForge. Do a search on SourceForge for video merge software.
Let's see this. How merge MP4 files into one. mp4joiner.org.
Okay.
there's probably lengths on those though.
A what?
Length. Like you probably can't do.
MP4 Joiner is a cross-platform free application that allows join multiple MP4 files into one without re-encoding and without quality loss. It's open source software and is completely free. Windows, Mac, and Linux.
Do not use MP4 Joiner.
Why?
According to this, it installs all type of malware on your machine.
From MP4 Joiner?
MP4 Joiner allows you to join multiple media files together. The installer will install all sorts of malware and other rubbish on your PC, according to SourceForge. It's got 9 one-star reviews.
I wonder if you have the ability to decide what junk it installs, because CNET or somebody was doing that same crap before, but if you were careful, you could avoid it. News, let's see. It's released August 2013.
This thing has got horrible reviews. Wow.
So what else is available?
I have no clue.
That's interesting that SourceForge will actually have
You can
stuff
leave
like
reviews
that.
on SourceForge. Yeah.
What?
You can leave reviews on SourceForge.
No, I mean,
There's
it's
one
being
called
downloaded from
FreeMake.
SourceForge.
Freemake.com.
Well, the software works, Amnon. That's the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is that it installs a bunch of other crap.
Well, other crap you can uninstall.
Well, if you're allowed to.
Just be very careful on what you're actually clicking on.
You're right.
When you click OK, there's invariably 3 or 4 other selected things pre-selected. Make sure you unclick it and click the advanced install option.
And you have to make sure that you do the custom installation and not the quick installation.
Yeah,
But even
it's
then,
always-
like Nick is saying, though, some of these guys from Russia don't give you the option not to install the crap.
Correct. I would be careful with anything like that.
Well, you should be careful with anything that you download.
FreeMake
And
Video
install.
Converter claims to be able to do it. It doesn't say anything about whether it re-encodes the file.
I've got
Here?
FreeMake Video Converter, and I've installed that.
Oh,
and
I'm not
that
trying
did-
to. I'm not trying to convert anything.
I
No, but
understand
it
that,
will
but
actually-
sometimes it's the same function.
It will split or merge files as well.
Which one?
FreeMake Video Converter. I've also got one installed called Hamster Free Video Converter, which I've installed. And I do remember that they had like a custom install, and then if you go to that, you just uncheck the rubbish that you don't want. And I've used both of those for either splitting or merging, and they've worked okay. If I remember rightly, it's a while ago I used them now.
Here's one called... Doesn't even have a name.
That's
These
the
are
one
the
I'd go
good
for
ones.
then.
These are the good ones. They do everything.
Join,
yes.
merge, combine multiple MP4s into one software from SobelSoft. It's $20.
Hmm.
It doesn't say anything about non-re-encoding. Here's videohelp.com. They are suggesting one here. They are a great site. Let's see what they suggest. AVID MUX or YAMB. Currently, AVD MUX compiled OSX tried AVID MUX is the name of it. Anyway, I don't know. There are ways of doing it. You just got to sort through all that crap. FFmpeg. What you want to do
FFmpeg is command line only, so.
Well, Amnon likes command line.
I have no problem with command line, but I don't
like
it. I mean,
this says that if you have media files with exactly the same codec and codec parameters, which you do, you can concatenate them as described in this article. If you have media with different codecs, you can concatenate them as described in a different article. With the same codecs, the concat demuxer and concat protocol, more flexible. I don't read all this. Concat demuxer. I'm going to post this link, Amnon.
Okay.
Because this allows you. I don't understand what all this crap is, but if you want to spend the rest of your life figuring it out, apparently this is the technical explanation that I just posted. The first part is if they have the same codec, which yours does. The second one is if it has. This is using FFmpeg apparently, which as far as I know, most of us have.
So I'm looking at, just to not go off topic here, but I'm looking at a cheap, like $1 or $2 little converter off of eBay. The estimated delivery is between May 21st and June 18th. That's insane.
See, the other thing you could do too, Amnon, if you wanted to, if you're still here.
I am. I'm installing the MP4 joiner, and it is trying to install all kind of things, but you have to.
Which computer are you installing it on?
On the one that not on the main machine.
You're probably gonna want to do it on the quickest computer you have, though.
Well, first I want to do it here to see that
he wants to see if he can bypass the crap.
Right.
Because in its defense, even though it got 9 1 stars, it got 9 5 stars too.
Correct.
It was trying to install all kind of different utilities, optimize and this and that and the other, but
you know, some of the 1 stars are not just about the crap. It says, I don't know whether this is open source. I would rather say that this is open spam. Results are unusable. The soundtrack was desynchronized, and playing the result file under VLC produces multiple screens and Windows spam. Windows installer for something.
They're talking about that MP4 joiner?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
But these things, you know, it's like I was reading last night. I was reading some reviews on Amazon.com on a book, and the first 10 5-star reviews were all correctly written, proper grammar, exclamation points properly placed. You know that they're ringers because 8 out of 10 people who write reviews can't spell.
Yeah, it installed it without any junk.
So far.
Yeah, well, I put it. I'm looking in the browser.
Well, let us know. Report back next week and tell us how it works.
Okay. Yeah.
What I'm looking at right now, Amnon.
Yeah.
For this antenna is a SMA female adapter to a BNC adapter.
The SMA is what's on the radio? Is that
Correct.
what they call it?
Yeah.
Okay, BNC is standard.
But yeah, that's the problem. Is this SMA is not standard.
Right, but that's
well,
what I
it
said.
actually is.
Well,
What?
it is, but not of the a lot of the like bigger antennas don't use that. They use BNC,
Right.
or coax.
Yeah. So this way, what you can do is you can get that. And
I have a scanner somewhere. I don't know where it is, though. My father got this like Radio Shack scanner probably, 7 or 8 years ago, and it had a huge BNC antenna on it, but we just can't find it.
Well, just so that you will know, the frequencies that you're trying to pick up are VHF high band.
That's something like the 140, between 140 and 170.
Correct. The 400 stuff is UHF.
UHF, which I don't need.
Well, it depends on where they're broadcasting.
I can't even access a lot of the 400 stuff on this radio. Because like everybody keeps talking about police scanners. I can't listen to a single police scanner on here.
Most of them are in some sort of digital pooling situation now, and it's almost impossible to listen to them. My wife wanted a scanner to listen to the police calls too, and this had been 2 or 3 years ago now. I did some research, and the scanners that would track those police channels, as I recall, were in the like $400 or $500 range, because when they do a digital pooling, I don't understand this technology exactly, but it was something on the order of they transmit on one channel, and then all the radios change channels to a second channel, and then to a third channel, and then a fourth channel. They're always moving around on channels, so people can't just set a scanner and listen to them.
That's the same in the UK as well. They used to be able to listen to both sides of the conversation, and then they started transmitting on different frequencies from, whichever, whether it was from the base or from each individual car or radio out in the field, and it was, I can't listen to them anymore, darn.
But listen, guys, there's so many sites now where somebody will spend the $800 for a commercial grade scanner and then hook it up to the internet.
Correct.
We were talking earlier in the week about Mixlr and what's there, and unfortunately they don't have any incidental listeners that you can pick up because their searching is so horrible. But I spent some time yesterday just clicking through live Mixlr sites, and there were several 24/7 scanner channels on Mixlr by region. One of them was for somebody down in Georgia. So if it's something you want to listen to, make sure you exhaust an internet search to find out if anyone has done that.
Yeah, the big site for it is TuneIn. Almost every scanners on TuneIn or Broadcastify. Those seem to be the two big ones. But for me, there's not a the main repeater does not appear to be on Broadcastify. Everything else is just not this.
And for anyone who's interested with Mixlr.com, they now have an Android developer on staff, so there should be an application for Android coming out soon.
I hope so.
That's going to be very important for them, as well as they've got to find a way to qualify their live streamers, because right now, whenever you start a show on Mixlr, you have to pick a category. And while they have some pretty good granularity with categories, one of them being talk, one of them being technology, if you go do a search on live talk now on Mixlr, you'll end up with about 2/3 of them that are idiots playing music and having it improperly categorized. So what I suggested to them is that they not only have a way for reporting mischaracterized programs, but also that whenever you start a broadcast, you have to select which language it's in, because they have a lot of international users. And if all you speak is Hungarian, it's ridiculous to have to sit there and scan through all the Spanish and English talk shows to be able to find one in Hungarian.
There you go.
Do what?
So there you go.
There you go. All right.
Once I have an Android app, I'll start using it again.
Yep. All right. Are we done?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
By the way, Eric posted a link to a YouTube file about how to concatenate MP4 files using FFmpeg.
Look up your local ham club. Yeah, I plan on getting into it. I don't know. Oh, they meet pretty far away, which is kind of unfortunate.
All right. Well, that was an experience.
What was?
Today's show.
Oh, this thing crashing.
Yep. But not the end of the world, right?
I was going to go buy a C720 today, but then I see the i3's coming out.
Oh, Chromebook?
Yeah.
I like my Chromebook.
I need one to sit on the bed with.
It's great. And it'll go to the Chromecast if you have one.
Actually, the one I got from Amnon, I was sitting downstairs unused for quite a while after I played with it, but I yesterday brought it upstairs to put on my TV. I have an extra HDMI port up here now, and I'm actually going to put it on that one, and this will actually be good to have that.
Any last words?
Yes. Roku 2 is a piece of crap.
How dare you?
Microsoft Windows 8 will do your head in.
Too late.
Just be nice to everybody.
Yeah, if you're not watching Dexter, don't.
It's really.
Yeah.
So you stopped watching it?
No, I'm still watching it. I'm warning you so that you don't get started on it, because if you start it, you'll want to finish it.
Oh. Okay.
It's a very interesting program because nothing else is like it. So I think that's what's got the appeal for it.
You're rooting for the serial killer.
Yeah, I know. It's but then it's all for all the right reasons, isn't it? And as you progress through the various series, it really does hook into you.
I really don't want to be in a society where individuals are going to go out and take the law into their own hands because they feel motivated.
Well, you need to look at the characters that he's doing it to and for the reasons he's doing it because of the type of character they are. That's the thing you need to look at.
Well, the guy, are you up to date on it, Steve?
No, I haven't seen the most recent series, but I've watched all of them up till this current series is on now, or the last one of the ones anyway.
I don't even know what season they're up to now. I'm watching it on Netflix, and I am up through, I think, season 4 or something like that. And but what's interesting about it, on a local perspective, is the actor who plays Dexter is Michael C. Hall, and he's from Raleigh, turns out. He's from here.
Oh, okay.
And it also turns out he's, and don't say anything, Steve, because I think I know a spoiler, but I don't want you to confirm it, and I don't want to give out one. But I believe he was married to the lady who plays his sister on the show, as I recall. I try not to research too much because you'll research it and you'll say, oh, yeah, Michael C. Hall until he left the show in 2012. Oh, okay. Or some nonsense like that, which is not something I have read. So,
hey, Mike.
Hey.
Quickly, the stuff between 145 and 170, that's UHF or VHF?
VHF.
Okay.
It's VHF high band. There's VHF high and VHF low. That's VHF
this thing only does
high.
VHF and UHF.
If it just says VHF and UHF, it's almost always going to mean VHF high band.
Yeah, that's what it means.
All right.
Well, thank you for talking into your microphone at least 3 or 4 times today, Amnon.
What, you mean
Well,
you can't hear me?
Jerry Lee Lewis said he is not married. Now, let me check my note because I don't like giving out bad information here. So let's go to Michael C. Hall and go to his Wikipedia page. And I scroll down here, and it says spouses, married to Jennifer Carpenter from 2008 to 2011. Now, unless I am mistaken, Jennifer Carpenter is the lady who played his sister on the show. So he either is, or, I mean, I know he's not married to Jennifer Carpenter now. They divorced in 2011. So I stick by what I originally said, or at least if I'm wrong, Wikipedia is incorrect. And if I click on Jennifer Carpenter's name, I see the lady who plays or played his sister, and I'm not going to read any more about it because I don't want to read any more about it. But
she certainly has a colorful tongue, doesn't she?
I think she is a horrible actress.
Well,
I just think she's terrible, and she's too skinny. And also, and speaking of terrible actors, while we're wasting time, I was watching back a couple of episodes on last night. What's this show? Big Bang Theory.
all right, yeah.
And the guy who plays, who's the guy with the long black hair?
Sheldon?
No.
Oh, no, the guy with the large nose.
Yes.
Long black hair.
Yeah, it's not Horowitz. What's his name? The Jewish fellow.
Is it the main guy?
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
I don't watch the show.
the clown. What's his name?
Yeah. The NASA guy.
Yeah. Anyway.
He's a terrible actor. He's terrible. I mean, it's almost like you can see him on the script. It says, look off into the left as if gazing into the darkness. I mean, he's a terrible actor. But what was it they were talking about? Some business thing. I won't remember what it was they said, but somebody was talking about company being a success. Oh yeah, our company invented that virus and released a fix for it all in the same day.
Hugh.
All right, let's wrap it up. I'm starving.
All right. Yeah, me too. Well, Steve, thank you.
I need to go tune into my
you.
latest
Mike,
release
thank you.
of. I need to go tune into the latest release of Ukulele Week.
Nick, thanks.
No problem.
Microsoft, thank you.
Scott,
Amnon, thank you.
thank you, Amnon. Thank you, Steve. Thank
Good
you,
morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Kathy, and Donna. Thank you, everybody, for tuning to Computers2know Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9. But you can always reach us at Computers2know.com. And if you're looking for any hosting, you need to go and visit outerlimithosts.com.
Thank you.
Also, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and tune in tomorrow at 1 o'clock for Breaking Free. Health In is not going to be tomorrow, and tomorrow night is Tanya Love Show. See you all.
Tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers2know Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.